Is that of Great Britain? Great Britain with a fantastic heritage in Formula One. They've hosted a Grand Prix every year since the World Championship began in 1950. They've also had world champions such as Mike Hawthorne, Graham Hill twice, Jim Clark twice as well. Johnson, who you saw earlier on. Jackie Stewart, three times. Jake Trump, Nigel Mansell, and of course, David Hill. Robert McLean, from Great Britain. David Hill starting on the Great Britain. Also,
Johnny Herbert, it's a bit of a difficult situation for you now. You've been in the dry all weekend. It's looking like rain. What can you do?
Well, nothing. At the moment, we're okay. But again, we'll have to see what we do when we get on the grid. And then the closer that sort of time ticks down, then we'll have to make a decision. But he's holding off for now. The wind's still up. So it'll probably hold for a bit. And you never know, it may not come. The cloud is still quite high. So it's coming from the normal way, though.
A much better weekend this weekend for the team as a whole. Has that made you think, oh, perhaps I shouldn't have retired from Formula One?
No, not really, because I think it's still going to, you know, for me, I think it was time to do something else. I didn't feel that I had a chance of winning races, particularly, and say even a championship, which is always what I've wanted to do, and that's not really realistic. So I think, no, it's still the right way. It's only been one race so far that we've done well at for a long, long time.
And when we have an announcement what you are doing next year?
Yeah, well, hopefully very soon. I'm still talking to quite a few of the teams, and as soon as I am happy with everything, then obviously I'll let everybody know.
Johnny, thank you very much for talking to us. Thanks.
Thanks.
Hasn't, but he's been told. So we'll go pretty much straight away as soon as it's open. Go once through the pit lane, and we'll decide on this front wing setting. The set of tyres have got 5 laps on them, so they're like the best setting.
military salute. And Michael Schumacher wins the San Marino Grand Prix. And now, Italy, the Tifosi can truly erupt. This is going to be his 7th win of the year. Yes, victory for Schumacher.
Suzuka is the impressive stage as double world champions Mika Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher go for the F1 2000 title. Hello there, good morning to you from our London studio. Hey, very well done indeed for joining us. Your award is seeing the action as it happens. The Japanese Grand Prix is due off in just under half an hour's time. Michael Schumacher knows if he wins, he is the champion. And Tony, Schumacher's Ferrari looking the absolute business in qualifying.
Probably one of the best chariots he's ever had, I think. It didn't look darty, it didn't look nervous. All this work they've done at Mugello has really paid off, he said. But the car does look impressive. But it's a fabulous contest between two legends of Formula One, to be honest. And this was Häkkinen coming back because Schumacher had already been on provisional pole. And Häkkinen has had a brief holiday, and he was criticised by Michael Schumacher. Schumacher said you've got to really, really work. And he went out to respond this Grand Masters contest, and Schumacher went back and just shaved it off because he got a sub 136 there. Häkkinen going back out to respond the next move, and he gets the pole back just by something like about 7/700ths. Schumacher goes out again. This was just going on tit for tat. 9,000ths of a second, which is probably about 5 or 6 inches or something.
Amazing, that, isn't it? We're talking that much over 3.5 miles.
It shows how close the cars are and how evenly matched these two are, which means we've just got this great contest today for the World Championship. Good
qualifying for the Brits, I think all of them in the top 10. And Jenson Button saying one of his moments of the season.
Yeah, because this is a very, very difficult track, and he worked hard here, very, very hard indeed. And it's been a fabulous rookie season for him here. You know, he's third on the grid in Belgium. And this took his breath away, actually. He was quite surprised by how good the car was, and especially when he put new tyres on it as well. He was pleased, his dad was pleased, but despite that, he still has to iron his own shirts, you know.
Now then, Tony, go on, you just chat us through the grid, could you?
Yeah, well, Michael Schumacher, he doesn't want to make the mistake and fluff the start like he did in '98. He's got to put that all behind him. He doesn't want to fall at the final fence. Häkkinen says it's OK to start from the front row of the grid. Only won from pole twice in 13 years this race. Coulthard not had a good event. The car's not been brilliant over the weekend. Barrichello's had spins. Those two not in a position to help their number ones. Button, as we've said, 5th on the grid, ahead of Ralph for the 7th time this year. Irvine and Herbert, both in the top 10 for the Jaguars. And Frentzen in the Jordan, ahead of the Works Honda engine car of Villeneuve there. Wirtz is ahead of Fisichella for the 2nd race in a row as well. Not pleased about that. De La Rosa, it all went wrong during qualifying, otherwise the car had been good. Verstappen alongside him. Then truly problems with the power steering down in 15th place. 16th, Heidfeld having been shown round the circuit by his elder statesman teammate Alesi earlier on. Zonta had an engine change, he lost 30 minutes. And Diniz dumped all his oil, so his two best times were taken away from the qualifying session. And the two Minardis hoping for lots of dropouts today.
Thanks, Tony. Let me just remind you of the standings. Schumacher has gone quickest, by the way, in morning warm-up. Realistically, only a win will do for Häkkinen. Coulthard's Japanese record is poor. Barrichello, he has never been higher than 5th, and nor has Ralf Schumacher. Ferrari, well, they won the Constructors' Crown at Suzuka. They're in shape to do so again. Williams set to be best of the rest behind Benetton. Keep an eye, by the way, on that Honda-powered scrap between Jordan and BAR. So Michael Schumacher odds on to take the title. Let's just check the latest state of play as far as the big two are concerned and the role of their teammates Coulthard and Barrichello. James Allen reporting.
One of these two men will become the first three-time world champion since Ayrton Senna. Michael Schumacher has more aces in his hand with an 8-point cushion and pole position this afternoon. But Mika Häkkinen has an equally good car and history on his side. He's twice won this race from second on the grid. Both men are surprisingly relaxed this weekend and equally hungry. It was a thrilling qualifying session, which proved that there is nothing to choose between the two of them.
Over the line goes Schumacher, pole, pole!
It's really terrible to be in a car in a situation like that, you know, when you know you have to like go out there and to go like just a tiny bit quicker, and that is just disaster. It's not a very pleasant feeling. Maybe exciting to watch, but the drive, I tell you, it's a nightmare.
Means nothing, 9,000s, honestly. I mean, I see no down or upside. For the team, obviously, it's a great push. I'm optimistic, but not over-optimistic. There's no point. I mean, I want to win that race.
I have to polish, so I have to win it.
How are you feeling about that?
It's terrible. But I'm looking forward. It's good. You know, I have to take a positive attitude and enjoy about this. And it's again another year, very special year. So I try to take the best out of it and enjoy it.
Don't you always win this race when you start second on the grid?
Yeah, you're right.
He's going to start first.
Don't bet for it tomorrow. I tell you, you never know.
You'd rather be on pole position in the end of the day than being on second position. So we have the base to do the job tomorrow. Let's see whether we can do it.
Qualifying's one thing, but what about the relative race performance? Ferrari had the edge during the early practice sessions, quickly finding a good race setup on the new Bridgestone tyres, but McLaren have made some big changes to the car and caught them up. The start will be critical, as will race strategy and making the tyres last through 3 flat-out stints. Häkkinen needs to find something special, otherwise Schumacher is just 90 minutes racing away from a place in the history books.
Team tactics are an integral part of Formula One. McLaren used them to good effect at the United States Grand Prix, where Coulthard slowed the pace in the early stages to enable Häkkinen to keep in touch. Ferrari aren't averse to playing team games either. When the championship lay in the balance here in Japan in '97, the team started Eddie Irvine on a light fuel load, enabling him to move easily through the field from third on the grid. He soon took the lead from Jacques Villeneuve, then controlled the pace to the pit stops, where the Ferrari crew had the edge. Then the call came through.
Now this is going to be a bit of synchronised swimming here. How can Irvine seamlessly let past Schuey without... Well, we were now seeing it for ourselves.
Schumacher went on to win the race, but it was clearly a team victory. So how much can McLaren and Ferrari use such tactics in today's race, and how much can Barrichello and Coulthard help?
If I was first, Michael was second, and Mika was third, then control a pace that would enable Mika to get past. But quite how you do that without allowing someone to overtake you is quite a tricky thing. So I don't really, in a way, I hope I don't have to be involved in anything like that, because those two guys are fighting for the championship, and it should be the best driver-car combination that wins.
Teammates can play a part off the track, though, as Rubens Barrichello acknowledges.
Well, I think I can help a big deal. I mean, on setting up the car, on being close to to the pace. And I mean, I think I can help a little bit, and it makes me proud because I mean, after 21 years, if I can do something to win this championship, I've been part of it.
It isn't quite as clear as what people are trying to suggest, that it's Michael and Mika out front and then Rubens and I battling away behind. You know, maybe someone else comes into the battle as well. So, you know, it's still a race until there's a situation where maybe there's either myself or Rubens can help their teammates. But who knows what can happen.
So don't just focus on the championship contenders today, keep an eye on their teammates as well.
Not only the sort of shotgun riders have been told to keep it clean, but will they?
I think they have to, because otherwise they could face potential race bans next year. But what the teams are worried about is they're bringing this rule in before the end of the season, this black and white flag. Now, team tactics have been part of motorsport since the year dot. Mercedes used them in the 20s. I mean, you know, Ferrari have used them, Bugatti used them. It is absolutely ridiculous to suddenly say you can't slow them down or you can't balk or whatever. So it's wrong.
If we look at the start at Suzuka, it's a downhill start. Schumacher has had problems there, stalled in '98 and didn't get away at all well last year, did he?
No, he didn't get away at all well last year. He got way far too much wheel spin, but this has been a problem for Michael Schumacher, and it's been a problem for him and Ferrari, falling at the final hurdle. That's why it's such a big mountain for him to climb today psychologically. And look at just the way he had fallen back there, as you said, last year, and dropped all the way. Look at Hakkinen. He very rarely makes a bad start, and that's why he's quite up today about his start, and he's won from second place before.
OK, Tony, thanks very much indeed. Well, now, another chance for you to enter our competition. Watch closely if you fancy the ultimate F1 experience. Here's your opportunity to ride in a Formula One car. We've teamed up with McLaren Mercedes for a chance to win the thrill of a lifetime. A ride in the back of their two-seater. Two lucky winners will get a day out at Silverstone and feel the breathtaking acceleration and awesome cornering force of a 750 horsepower racing car on one of the fastest tracks of all. The car's suitable for most people, but it can reach speeds of up to 200 miles an hour and corner at over 3G. So you'll need to pass a medical, be within the height and weight limits, and be 18 or over. You'll also have to answer these two McLaren-themed questions. Question 1. When did Mika Hakkinen make his Formula One debut? Was it A, 1991, B, 1992, or C, 1993? A, 91, B, 92, C, 93. Question 2. McLaren hold the record for the most wins in a season, but how many? Is it A, 13, B, 14, or C, 15? A, 13, B, 14, C, 15. And here is the number to dial: 09065 811 811. 09065 811 811. And the very best of luck to you all.
afterwards?
I don't know. We'll see the result. I don't want to talk too much about it.
Yeah.
I have other things to talk about.
Yeah.
Michael Schumacher could become world champion today. 7 months of intense competition right across the globe could be settled at Suzuka, Japan over the next couple of hours. Let's get the thoughts of Martin Brundle on the grid. Hi, Martin.
Hi, Jim. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the grid. Right, so what do you want to know? Well, this morning I watched 3 Ferrari practice starts, 1 from Barrichello, 2 from Michael Schumacher. Down here, there's a zone here at the end of the pit lane where they're allowed to make their practice starts, nowhere else. They were appalling. They were really snatchy. I'm sure they've had to adjust the electronic clutch modulation since the warm-up this morning. They must get off the line. Michael Schumacher, I can see, just disappearing over the wall there, or his normal necessary things on the grid. Let me show you down here at the Ferrari. I wonder if we can interrupt with Ross Bourne momentarily. I think, any chance, Ross? Critical day. Are you confident?
Well, we've had a couple of good races, the last 2 races. Car's working well. Michael seems in good form, so, but quote a cliche, anything could happen. So.
Absolutely. I hear there could be 30% chance of rain at 3 o'clock-ish. Is that your idea too?
Yeah, the forecasts for us aren't as good here, so, but we're hearing the same, that there could be rain during the race.
Now, I watched 3 practice starts, 1 from Rubens, 2 from Michael, down at the end of the pit lane here this morning. They didn't look particularly good. Are you comfortable with them?
We've made a few adjustments.
Okay, I thought you may have done. Thanks for talking to us. Well, it was pretty much as I expected. Let's wander across and have a look. I don't know, Hakkinen was not on the grid when you threw down to me from the studio. And I don't think he's back on the grid yet. So let me just take you through what I think might happen down here. Mika Hakkinen has been making some superb practice starts. And remember, twice on this side of the grid in the last 2 years, he's just catapulted off. And Michael Schumacher is all too aware of that. Who else can come into play? Well, Tony and Jim have been talking about, will Barrichello over there be able to get in the action? Will they start him light so he can mess around? Will they start Coulthard light? But this new unsportsmanlike behaviour flag that they want to wave, I think also applies to other people on this grid. For example, Ralph Schumacher is just over there, Michael's brother. Can he get in on the action? But he drives for Williams. Williams are very close to McLaren. There are 2 other Ferrari engine cars out there that can come into play. Plus, of course, the Prosts have Ferrari engines next year, and I think the organisers, the FIA especially, are concerned that will these other cars come into play? We have seen the Minardis playing a few games, it appears, when they're being lapped. So that is why the flag is, let's see if we can get one quick word with Mika Hakkinen. We've got literally 10 or 15 seconds left. I don't think there's much chance, but at least we can show you that he looks extremely cool and calm. Mika, everything okay?
At the moment, yes.
Okay, I've spoken to you the last 2 years on this very piece of tarmac. You went on to win the race. You're going to do the same today?
Yes, that's the plan, but you know it's going to be quite difficult at the moment. You know, you can see the conditions are very different and the wind is changing all the time direction, so I think the start's going to be very difficult.
And you haven't used these new intermediates. Nobody's used them.
You're right.
Okay, good luck, mate. Back to you in the studio.
Well done there, Martin. Rain, the prediction, then possibly half an hour into the race. Suzuka can be very tough on tyres. It's got the reputation of a bit of an engine breaker as well. Best guessing race strategy. Here's James again.
They've changed the pit lane entry here at Suzuka. It's made it about 2 seconds faster to make a pit stop, and that's opened up the possibility of doing a 3-stop strategy. Ferrari won the race in '97 on a 3-stopper, and judging by this morning's warm-up, it looked as though Schumacher was running 3-stop fuel. In theory, it's about 8 seconds faster than a 2-stopper. McLaren looks set to cover it with a standard 2-stop strategy. Of course, 3 stops is only any good if you get the jump at the start. So what I expect Michael Schumacher and Ferrari to do is put a lightish fuel load in at the start, see whether they've got track position, and then make a decision whether to go for 3 or for 2 stops. Either way, it's going to be a great, great afternoon.
I'm sure it will be. If there is rain, Schumacher often the man. You know, this could just be the one. Ferrari have spent millions to win the driver's title. They've been hurting for 21 years since Jody Scheckter's success, but never write off that man, Mika Häkkinen, the Finn, born to win. Häkkinen going for an unprecedented 3rd Suzuka triumph on the trot. It is the Japanese Grand Prix then, coming your way right here on ITV.
Go to a plan B, and you know, obviously Michael doesn't have sufficient points to suffer an accident lightly, so I think both of the drivers have got to be a little careful, and most important thing is to have a good race, and I hope whether the championship is or isn't decided, it's an enjoyable race for everybody, including us, which of course for us that means we need to win it, but who knows, we'll wait and see.
And a dry race?
A little difficult to read the weather. We've got a lot of expertise available to us, and the radar scans that we've got show that in fact it's raining at quite a higher altitude and then evaporating before it hits the 2nd and 3rd cloud base, so it's a little bit hard to read. We think we know exactly what it's going to do, but I'm, as you'd expect, not going to share it with you.
Best of luck. Thanks, Ron.
Suzuka is primed for a World Championship decider. Ferrari are ready to acclaim Michael Schumacher, Mika Häkkinen and McLaren. They want to ruin the party. It's the Japanese Grand Prix with Martin Brundle and Murray Walker.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm talking to you very quietly because it is strangely, ethereally quiet here at Suzuka. The tension is genuinely well nigh unbearable. My palms are literally sweating because think ahead. The great world champions of the past. Juan Manuel Fangio has won it 5 times. Alain Prost has won it 4 times. 5 men have won it 3 times, and what a roll call of honour it is. Jack Brabham, Jackie Stewart, Niki Lauda, Nelson Piquet, Ayrton Senna. Is Mika Häkkinen or Michael Schumacher going to join that roll of honour today, or is it going to be delayed until 2 weeks' time in Malaysia? Well, the World Championship has been settled many times here at Suzuka, notably the last 2 years. For my money, the expectation that Michael Schumacher is going to do it today is not necessarily correct. He's not at his best in the conditions that he's under at the moment, at the front, under enormous pressure. He got it wrong at the start last year. He got it terribly wrong the year before when he stalled his engine and had to start from the back. Mika Häkkinen, on the other hand, the implacable flying Finn, is at his very best in these circumstances. You've heard from Martin down on the grid about those bad starts, in practice starts, that both Rubens Barrichello and Michael Schumacher were making this morning. Mika Häkkinen doesn't do that. In 1990, the World Championship was settled when Senna and Prost drove into each other at the very first corner. Let us hope there is no question of that today. But whatever, I'm expecting it to be a nail-bitingly tense race every inch of the way, particularly, as seems very likely, if it rains.
Yes, certainly many people are talking. It has been spitting, of course, as I'm sure you've been told. A few umbrellas up here and there, but nothing significant at the moment. But clearly all the teams pretty much in a consensus that there is a 30% chance of rain around 3 o'clock. Now, there's been no wet running at all on this track this weekend. Normally, if that happens, then it rains. There is a 15-minute window where they must practice on the wet track. Of course, when you get into the race procedure, that goes out of the window. So now it's into the great unknown. Will they adjust the cars on the grid? Will they put a little bit more downforce on in anticipation? I think probably not. I think they'll take a risk. Now, the intermediate tyres that are here are a different compound. They were falling apart in Spa. They're a tougher compound here, but nobody's really tested them here. In fact, they haven't tested them at all. They have been used by the various test teams back in Europe, but it's a total unknown. I think the wet tyre that Bridgestone have brought to this race is a softer compound to give them more grip, because when it rains here, it tends to rain very, very heavily indeed.
Yeah, they've got a thing called the Monsoon Bridgestone tyre, and in 1994, Damon Hill beat Michael Schumacher in one of the most exciting races I have ever seen, which was stopped after 17 laps because of rain, then restarted for another 34 laps, and Damon won. I remember I had to do a countdown on the time, and I remember saying excitedly 3.4 seconds, and that's what Damon Hill had won the race by. This could well be another one as they prepare for the formation lap.
And Michael Schumacher is definitely very nervous. His body language suggests that in the warm-up, before the warm-up this morning, he was wandering around outside the garage looking in at the Ferraris. I've never seen him do that. He was in the car a full 12 or 13 minutes before warm-up commenced. I haven't ever seen him do that. He was almost meditating on the grid. We saw a shot of him really with his head down, his eyes closed, and just thinking his way through this race. Michael Schumacher needs to deliver this championship for himself and for Ferrari. He gets paid a huge amount of money. Hasn't worked out for him in other years. One time with his own mistake, another time with the broken leg from Silverstone, and so on and so forth. Michael needs to deliver. I think Häkkinen is totally relaxed on the other hand.
53 laps this race. Now, this is the notorious first corner. It's a wonderful track here at Suzuka, 3.6 miles long. It's unique in that it is a figure of 8 configuration. They're into the famous snake now, this series of left and right bends, climbing up towards turn 7, a 150-mile-an-hour double left-hander. And then they approach the crossover This is turn 7 that they're in now, into Degner, which is a double right-hander that Michael Schumacher is particularly good at. That's Degner 1. The second one leads into the lower section of the crossover. There's the track going over the top. Up now to the hairpin, which is about 40 miles an hour, but they approach it, of course, at about 150 miles an hour. Very slowly indeed. The line here is absolutely essential to get it right. Down towards the spoon now, another unique corner at Suzuka. A long, long left-hander that just keeps on going. Into it at about 110 miles an hour. Build up to 125. Back off again to 85 miles an hour. You'll see now why it's called the spoon. There it is. Literally spoon-shaped. Out of it, downhill. And then climb up at a massive speed to one of the most exciting corners in Formula One, the 130R. This is it, 190 miles an hour in race conditions.
Yes, and you can still see traces of the cement dust put down yesterday after Pedro Diniz toured around a lap, leaking fluids with his car more or less on fire, the whole of the back end of the car on fire by the time he got back to the pits. And even his suspension was melted. He came so far around the track with that problem, and there's quite a lot of debris on the outside of this racetrack. It's a high tyre wear situation, therefore you get a lot of marbles off the racing line, and it's certainly not a place to go here.
And let me remind you that the top non-Ferrari or McLaren driver is Jenson Button, 5th position in the Williams BMW, alongside his teammate Ralf Schumacher. So you look at Michael Schumacher, behind him as Mika Häkkinen jinks out to take up his position, David Coulthard. You're looking now, Schumacher, Ferrari, in the background, the McLaren of Mika Häkkinen. Behind them, David Coulthard and Rubens Barrichello. Behind them, Jenson Button, you can just see his Union flagged helmet in the background, and Ralf Schumacher. Is somebody going to make an unexpectedly good start, but in particular, can Michael Schumacher get it away?
Häkkinen's car not looking particularly healthy on the line there. Look, a lot of blue smoke coming out of the back. That could be just oil burning off of the exterior of the exhaust pipes, but that is definitely more than normal, Murray.
Yep, watch for that then. 4 lights, 5 lights of the Japanese Grand Prix. He's go, and Michael Schumacher comes straight across and drives Mika Häkkinen towards the wall. But Häkkinen's done it again. He's taken the lead, as he did last year and the year before. A terrible bit of news for Michael Schumacher. David Coulthard in 3rd position, and Rubens Barrichello has been swapped, including by Eddie Irvine's Jaguar, which started in 7th position. So Häkkinen, Schumacher, Coulthard, and up has come extremely well the Williams BMW, and it looks like Ralf Schumacher in 4th position. Totally unexpected, and Mika Häkkinen has got exactly the situation that he wanted on the first lap. Michael Schumacher has got exactly the situation he didn't want. Remember what James Allen told you about fuel strategies. This could have immediately changed the Ferrari fuel strategy if Michael Schumacher was starting on a light load.
So both Ferraris then, as expected, slow off the line. Michael tried to amend that by squeezing Mika Häkkinen. He would have nothing of it, just like he would have nothing of it back at the Hungarian Grand Prix either, and streak through. But anyway, it's all calm. Michael is still in a 6-point scoring position. He can still win the championship if he finishes second to Häkkinen twice. So I don't think he'll be too distressed. He's got 4 wheels on his wagon and a whole race ahead of him, and I think he has the pace to at least stay with Häkkinen and maybe just an ounce more speed too.
And sure enough, Ralf Schumacher, a brilliant 4th place. Eddie Irvine up into 5th position. Rubens Barrichello down to 6th. Jenson Button lost 2 places, down to 7th position, and over the line, 1 lap completed, 52 laps to go. You can see them as Mika Häkkinen turns into the approach to the snake. Now, last year he pulled away and built up a comparatively rapidly 8 seconds lead over Michael Schumacher. It doesn't look to me as though he's doing that this year. Here it is again.
Yeah, so we've got an overhead look. They got away perfectly, but it's just Mika just hooked up and got more grip. Had to take to the yellow hatched zone, and there Barrichello getting squeezed totally out back into 6th place, so not working at all well for him. But Michael certainly activated the clutch at the right time, but just did not pick up speed. you'd have to suggest that the Ferrari is heavier on fuel, because he certainly got off the line quite well. But as we've seen so many times this year, Häkkinen is able to build speed so quickly. Look, he kills the wheel spin immediately and just gets total forward motion, and that is the net result. He's leading the Grand Prix.
So quickly did he do that, that although Michael Schumacher moved across immediately to try and impede the McLaren, he totally failed to do so now. Here they come out of the spoon, up towards the 130R, Häkkinen, Schumacher. Now the gap between Häkkinen and Schumacher and Coulthard, who is in third place, is already some 2 seconds. The first two are pulling away. Now remember, we don't know anything about fuel strategies. We're expecting them to stop twice, in which case the first stop should be round about lap 19 up to lap 22. Some way to go yet. Now Häkkinen led by 0.8 of a second on the first lap. He's increased it to 1 second. He's obviously therefore made the fastest lap of the race. David Coulthard still there, and the Williams BMWs of Ralf Schumacher and Jenson Button, 4th and 7th places. The Jaguar of Eddie Irvine magnificently, and you can see it in the background there, holding on to that 5th place alone on the track, well ahead of Rubens Barrichello.
Yes, he was over a second a lap faster than Barrichello on the last time around, so Irvine has got some serious pace. Barrichello struggling, some 2.7 seconds slower than Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher. So Barrichello with no apparent speed. Can't see any problems. Remember, the smoke we saw coming out of the back of Häkkinen's car was clearly running hotter than it should have been. It must have been a breather pipe or something, or occasionally the exhaust can give off a smoke like that when they get to a high temperature, and therefore Häkkinen appears to have no problems at this time.
Now, if Michael Schumacher can just keep in touch, he's going to be in there with a very considerable chance. There are 53 laps in this race. We're only on the 3rd lap of the Japanese Grand Prix at the present moment. As we have seen in the past, it is being dominated by these two men, one of which must lead the World Championship. Over the crossover, up to the... and there comes down to the end of the lap. Mika Häkkinen coming through to complete lap 3, and Michael Schumacher has closed up on him. It looks to me as though the gap is less than a second as they come over the line. Lap 3 completed, 50 to go. It is less than a second, but only by 1/10 of a second.
Yes, so the first 3 then in the 1:40s, and as you rightly say, Mo, for the first time in the race so far, Michael Schumacher with a faster lap than Mika Häkkinen to bring that gap under 1 second. Now, in this race last year, Michael Schumacher stopped twice, but he started the race intending to stop only once, had a bad start, and had to change the strategy to try to get ahead of that McLaren, to try to get track position. Don't know if he's doing that today. We'll have to wait and find out. But now it appears Michael is once again showing that tiny speed advantage he has had through this weekend.
Yeah, great news for McLaren, for Jaguar fans, because Eddie Irvine is calmly holding on to that 5th position. He's 2.3 seconds ahead of Rubens Barrichello, and Johnny Herbert has moved up from 10th on the grid to 8th position, right behind Jenson Button. In fact, only half a second separates the Williams BMW and Johnny Herbert's Jaguar. They're ahead of Jacques Villeneuve, who is 9th.
Now, Häkkinen's responded. He's already 2/10 up on this lap so far as they head towards the end of the 2nd sector. But also remember, last year, we thought Michael Schumacher wasn't pushing that hard. It was Eddie Irvine's championship that was up for grabs. The big difference this year, it's Michael's own championship that's up for grabs, and I think he'll be attacking rather harder this year than he did last.
Yeah, it's worth repeating the situation. Michael Schumacher leads Mika Häkkinen in the championship by 8 points. If Häkkinen wins this race and Michael Schumacher finishes 2nd, it will keep the championship alive down to Malaysia. But if Schumacher finished 2nd there, even if Häkkinen won, Schumacher would still win the championship on the number of wins. He's won 7 times already this season. Ferrari have had more wins this year more points this year than they have ever had before.
Looks darker outside our commentary box window, and a few spots of rain on the camera lens there. I wonder if we're now starting to look at that weather front coming through that all the teams are expecting.
Yeah, and I was told that if it rained, it was going to rain very heavily indeed. It may be a need for the Bridgestone Monsoon tyre. The one that they're using now is a medium compound. It's a new compound. They're in a battle with Michelin next year for the Constructors and Drivers' Championships on their tyres, and Bridgestone are making the most of the opportunity to bring in their new tyre as early as they can, and it seems to be working very well indeed. We're on lap 5 now out of 53. Still virtually nothing in it between the McLaren and the Ferrari, but David Coulthard is dropping back all the time. He's now 4.5 seconds behind Häkkinen. He's 2 seconds ahead of Ralf Schumacher, who is 2.7 seconds ahead of Irvine. Barrichello is 6. No retirement so far. Gaston Mazzucani, who started last, is running last, and he's already nearly 30 seconds behind Mika Häkkinen on lap 5 out of 53. Now, the gap was 1 second.
It's still 1 second. It's the last 2 laps. They've been thousandths of a second apart. Absolutely amazing. Just as we saw through that magnificent qualifying session yesterday, there's absolutely nothing to choose between these two great drivers, both double world champions. This is a bit of a bogey circuit for Coulthard down there in 3rd place. He never really has seemed to hook up around here. I said to him, it's just a piece of tarmac like any other racetrack in the world, but for whatever reason, he doesn't find the balance in the car, or it doesn't suit his driving style, and he is falling back. We don't know his fuel load situation, but behind him, Ralf Schumacher and Eddie Irvine falling further back still. But Irvine has really pegged 4th place man Ralf Schumacher. They're lapping in 1:41.9s, but the leaders are down there in 1:40.2.
Yeah, you see, it looks a lot closer as they come out of the corner there than 1 second. Maybe it is. Schumacher is obviously trying tremendously hard as they approach the spoon for the 6th time. They approach it at a speed of about 175 miles an hour as they back off of this basically double left-hander and accelerate up towards the 130R. That's where Mark Blundell came off so very badly some years ago. Terrific accident. He got out of the car, but he wasn't at all well after it. And now, look, McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, Ferrari construction, Ferrari engine. That's the notorious chicane where Prost and Senna ended the World Championship in 1989. Through to complete another lap. The gap was 1 second. Mika Häkkinen has gone faster and increased the gap to 1.3 seconds. We're going to leave you. We'll be back. 58 out of 53, no change at the front. Mika Häkkinen is holding the lead that he took so brilliantly at the start from Michael Schumacher. You can see them as they approach the spoon for the 8th time in this 53-lap race. And it's now going to come down to strategy and pit stops. If a McLaren mechanic or a Ferrari mechanic dropped a wheel nut, if the wheel went on askew, if the fuel hose didn't go in properly, something like that could decide the result of this race and potentially, therefore, the result of the World Championship. But at the present moment, with a 1.4-second lead at the end of the 7th lap, and I'll be able to tell you in a moment what it is as they complete this one, Mika Häkkinen is certainly looking very much in control of the Japanese Grand Prix as he inches away again. James Allen, 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, Murray, I completely agree with you. I'm in the McLaren car at the moment, and it's well, it's a tense atmosphere, but they are feeling quite confident at the moment. I had quite a long chat with Ross Brawn just before the start of this race about the different strategic possibilities. I got the impression that both teams would try to keep in touch with each other through this first stint, use roughly the same sort of fuel load, and the length of the first stop will be the critical thing. How long that fuel hose is on for, as to whether one of them is going slightly longer or shorter in the middle stint. But Ross said he felt today's race would be cat and mouse all the way, and it would literally come down to just a few fractions of a second in a pit stop, perhaps a little mistake by a mechanic, that kind of thing. It's really, really tense, fantastic atmosphere.
Well, you've just seen Jacques Villeneuve moving up through the field by passing the Jaguar. I expected him to be doing a lot better than he is, to be quite honest. He started in 9th position and held that place. He's now ahead of Johnny Herbert's Jaguar, so he's moved up a place into 8th position. Johnny Herbert down to 9th when he started in 10th position. Jenson Button is still running in 7th position, just 1.8 seconds behind Rubens Barrichello, whose lack of progress is really surprising me.
Yeah, Rubens has been off the road 3 times this weekend and really has not looked on top of this circuit or this car. Mika Häkkinen is on a stonking lap, about to be the fastest lap of the race without any doubt at all. And for the first time a couple of laps ago, while you were talking, Murray, I saw the first signs that the rear tyres of Schumacher's car are not in quite as good condition as Häkkinen. 39.8 as Häkkinen comes over the line for a new fastest lap, 39.9 for Michael, so Michael can just about hang on. You were talking about Villeneuve. He's the 4th fastest man on the track at the moment, and I think as we're watching an arrows going into as Verstappen with a problem of some sort, I think Villeneuve will be homing in very quickly on Armand Jenson Button.
About time we gave you the top 10 on lap 10. Mika Häkkinen leading, of course, getting on towards 2 seconds now from Michael Schumacher, with David Coulthard in 3rd position, 8 seconds behind the leader. 4th is Ralf Schumacher, who made that brilliant start in the Williams. 5th still is Eddie Irvine, just 1.5 seconds ahead of Rubens Barrichello, who's closed up a bit. Jenson Button still 7th. Villeneuve, on the other hand, is getting close to Button in 8th position. Johnny Herbert down tonight. Jarno Trulli in the Jordan is in 10th position, and he started well down in 15th place, so he's making good progress. He's ahead of his teammate Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Then it's De La Rosa, Wout Salo, into the pits comes Jos Verstappen, and that is a retirement. That is for sure. When they turn like that and the mechanics wheel the car backwards, that's it.
First retirement of the race then for Jos Verstappen in the orange arrows. Don't know what his problem is. I'm sure we'll find out soon from the F1 ITV pit crew. Meanwhile, back with the leaders, and Häkkinen again on this lap appears to be a couple of tenths faster than Michael Schumacher. Can he edge this lead to over 2 seconds? I think it'll be this lap or the next, and he'll clear that 2-second hurdle. A 39.9 again for him and a 40.0 for Michael, so it's a 10th per lap now.
Well, there's no question of the fact that Michael Schumacher is not trying. He's trying, all right, but try as he may, lap by lap, metre by metre, Mika Häkkinen, with perfect control and superb line in an ideally set up motor car, is inching away from him. Very interesting that, because we've had 6 sessions of one kind or another up to today, including qualifying. Michael Schumacher was faster in 5 of those 6. But in the end, it's Häkkinen on that superior start who's got ahead, and now he's staying ahead.
Yes, if you want to see where, how and why Häkkinen's inching away, just watch the front wheels as they go through the curbs, particularly earlier on in the lap. and even through Spoon, which is about another half a kilometre down the road from where they are now. Hakkinen hooks up with them more consistently than Michael Schumacher, and it's Schumacher, and the car's just edging away from those apex curbs where he really needs to be. Makes him have to fight the car on the exit a little bit. It's only a tiny amount. If you look hard, you can see Michael having to work harder to stay on line than Hakkinen.
Well, that's Ricardo Zonta in the white car that you're looking at. He is in 17th place, chasing Nick Heidfeld. Behind him is Pedro Diniz. Here we are back again with Mika Hakkinen, down to complete another lap. Michael Schumacher could keep him in sight, but that McLaren is slowly getting smaller and smaller. Completion of lap 11, 42 laps yet to go. There is the gap. 2 seconds now. It is over 2 seconds as a result of the fact that although Michael Schumacher has gone faster than he has been before, Mika Hakkinen has just gone faster than anybody has been before, including himself, of course. A new fastest lap on lap 11, 1:39.7, and that is some 1.5 seconds faster than Michael Schumacher's fastest lap last year. So we've got a 130-mile-an-hour lap as we ride with Rubens Barrichello in 6th position. And the car you see ahead is the green Jaguar of Eddie Irvine. So the Scarlet Ferrari cannot make up ground on Eddie Irvine, who went so well last year here in the Ferrari.
150 miles an hour now through Dunlop, and then look, the first Degner really catches you by surprise, and you just launch through it, and then take the second one much more seriously, down to 80 miles an hour, and you can lean on that green piece of concrete on the exit. And Barrichello spun off here by clipping a curb on Friday. No such problems this time around, but he's lapping down in the 41.4s and his teammates in the 39.8. So Barrichello well, I'm sure he's on more fuel than Michael. He cannot be that much slower around here.
I'll tell you this, I bet there are a lot of people in Malaysia who are watching this race with a special interest, because if Mika Hakkinen stays where he is, no matter where Michael Schumacher finishes after him, the World Championship is going down to Kuala Lumpur on October the 22nd in 2 weeks' time. Historically, it's been settled at the last race for several years now. And with that news, we're going to a break. retirements now from the Japanese Grand Prix on lap 14 out of 53 as Pedro Diniz comes in for the first routine pit stop we've had. The other retirement was that of Gaston Mazzacani, the Argentine driver in the Minardi, who went off at Degner and damaged the motor car. He's perfectly all right, out of the race. But it's very close behind as you look at Zonta again, back in 17th place, closing up on Nick Heidfeld in the Prost and pulling away in the process from Fisichella in the blue Benetton, who is strangely far down the field.
Yes, all that blood, sweat and tears and risk to be 17th is pretty hard work. But look, this lot driving for all their worth, and quite what Fisichella's problem is, I don't know. I think Mazzacani carried on, Murray. I still think we only have one retirement in this race, which is Verstappen, who apparently lost 2 gears. Rather careless of him. I'm sure they'll find them sometime later. But apparently they're going to try and repair the gearbox on that Arrows, but he's effectively out of the race.
Well, as you watch this battle developing between Heidfeld, Alesi and Zonta with the yellow band on his helmet, having a look at the Prost in front, let me tell you about lap 15 and what the situation is at the front. Mika Häkkinen now has eased away yet more from Michael Schumacher. David Coulthard is still in that 3rd position ahead of Ralf Schumacher. Eddie Irvine is still in 5th place, but Rubens Barrichello is inching up on the Williams BMW. Barrichello in the 2nd Ferrari in 6th position. Now, I'm wondering whether Rubens Barrichello is on a one-stop strategy. Seems unlikely, but it's conceivable, because he's strangely far down the field. But meantime, in 7th position, Jenson Button soldiering on well, about a 1/10 of a second a lap slower than Barrichello, still in 7th place, but...
Well, the point of putting Barrichello on a one-stopper would probably leave him in play when Mika Häkkinen comes out after his first stop. Assuming he's on a 2-stopper, it will be around lap 21, 22, I would guess, for Häkkinen. It might have put Barrichello somewhere in the action to interfere, and certainly interfere with his pace for a short amount of time anyway. But actually, Barrichello is so slow, he's now 27 seconds down the road and falling away. So that one is not going to work out. We don't know if Coulthard happens to be heavy on fuel. He could come into play later on. But again, he's currently 12 seconds down the road. But Irvine is beginning to come under pressure from Barrichello, and Button beginning to come under pressure from Jacques Villeneuve.
Yeah, and the only man who's remotely in touch with the leaders in terms of lap times is David Coulthard. He's lapping half a second slower than Häkkinen and Schumacher as Trulli comes into the pits. Jarno Trulli, 11th position in the Jordan. His place will be taken by Pedro de la Rosa in the Arrows. He'll move up into 11th position. Nice clean stop, no problems there. Short one, 6.2 seconds. You're looking at Rubens Barrichello now and Eddie Irvine starting a battle for 5th position as Barrichello closes up slightly on the Jaguar.
Jordan having a poor day. I mean, that truly coming in that early, needing fuel that early, suggests that he really is seriously off the pace. Started well down the field, 10th and 11th at the moment for Jordan. And truly, of course, when it all shakes out, will be somewhat further down the field, having been the 2nd man to stop.
Well, the BAR factory at Bicester, they have 4 objectives on the wall to motivate and encourage the people who work for. And one of those objectives is get Jordan, because the 2 of them have got the same number of points in the World Championship, 17 points, and BAR's ambition is to finish at least 4th in the at least 5th in the Constructors' Championship by getting ahead of Jordan, who are there now. And out come the Jaguar mechanics into the pit lane to receive either Eddie Irvine in 5th position or Johnny Herbert, who is 9th.
Irvine coming in, peeling off then, so Irvine locking up to get down to the 120k, and he has pitted very, very early again at the end of lap 16. So Irvine then explains to a certain extent some of his pace, especially if Barrichello can go somewhat further into the race. But nonetheless, a good run, good first part of the race for Eddie Irvine.
Barrichello up into 5th place, Jenson Button back into the points, 6th position. Eddie Irvine, I'm sure Villeneuve is going to get through before him. Yes, indeed he has, because now here is De La Rosa right behind him, and he was in 11th place. There is Jacques Villeneuve, and it looks as though BAR are starting to get towards achieving their objective in this race.
Yes, and there you see Jenson Button in front of him. Last time around, the gap was just 0.6 of a second. So, and Villeneuve really closing in under braking. You always get a yo-yo effect in a hairpin like that, but clearly Villeneuve has greater pace at the moment.
Lap 17, race order, Häkkinen, 2.2 seconds, Schumacher, 13 seconds, David Coulthard, 23 seconds, Ralf Schumacher, 4th, 30 seconds, Rubens Barrichello is 5th, 32 seconds, Jenson Button, 32 seconds behind Häkkinen, that is, and not behind Barrichello, in 6th position, so just over half a minute covers the top 6, the top 7 now, because you're looking at Jenson Button in the white Williams, or you were, and Jacques Villeneuve. Here they are.
So Button only 2.1 seconds behind Barrichello. You probably saw the Ferrari flash through the foreground as they cut away to Button and Villeneuve. Over the line they go. This time it's Button that's slightly faster on that lap by a fraction of a second. Good tussle here. Button doing an amazing job through this Grand Prix weekend to qualify 5th on his first ever visit to this, one of the most demanding circuits in the world.
And the Japanese have taken him to their hearts like they did Ayrton Senna. Button was literally mobbed on his way into the circuit today. They stopped his car, they tore the wing mirrors off it. They were so enthusiastic to get at the young Englishman that their excitement almost literally knew no bounds. He is their new hero, it's hardly surprising. He's only 20 years old. Here on a driver's circuit in Suzuka, he was the top man to qualify behind the 2 Ferraris and the 2 McLarens. In Belgium at Spa, that magnificent driver's circuit, he was 3rd on the grid. Gerhard Berger said yesterday this man is going to be world champion within 5 years. I don't know whether he's as good as that, but he's certainly absolutely brilliant. And we're on lap 18 now, with Mika Häkkinen making yet another fastest lap of the race. 2.5 seconds now is the gap between him and Michael Schumacher, as out of the 130R, up towards the end of the lap, Jenson Button in the Williams, Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR, 6th and 7th fighting. We're with Villeneuve now. So, down from about 190 miles an hour, turn in 40 miles an hour. Out to complete the lap. Jenson Button accelerates away. The speed builds up before turn 1 to 195 miles an hour. But all the time, Jenson Button is seeing that BAR getting closer and closer.
Yes, your ears did not deceive you if you were paying a good attention on board with Jacques Villeneuve there. The Japanese director, as Herbert comes in for his first stop at the end of lap 18. The Japanese director has not got the right exhaust note with the right picture, so the dubbing is not at all good. But that certainly is, as Herbert leaves the pits in 8.2. Irvine had a very poor stop in 10.1 seconds. He's currently running down in 10th place. So of the people who have stopped, and there's a queue coming in the pits of Burt, Salo, and then must be a Lacey behind them. So now we've had Herbert, Irvine, Burt, Trulli, Salo, Heidfeld, and Dinitz have all stopped. None of the front runners have yet stopped.
Is this going to be another disappointment for Michael Schumacher, like so many Japanese Grand Prix in the past had been? Last year, beaten by Mika Häkkinen. The year before, beaten by Mika Häkkinen in the race and the World Championship. And he's doing nothing about the flying Finn ahead of him. Although the gap between Schumacher in 2nd place and Coulthard 3rd is getting bigger and bigger. 15 seconds it is now, and Coulthard himself is nearly 14 seconds ahead of Ralf Schumacher. Yet again, it looks as though the Williams BMW is going to finish in the points. Ralf Schumacher's had a brilliant season, 3 third places already.
Ralf has pitted, so Ralf Schumacher pits from 4th place. Barrichello will temporarily take that 4th place over. Button moves up also to 5th in that case. So Ralf in for his first scheduled stop on what is an early 2-stopper, I'd imagine.
8.3 seconds. In comes Jacques Villeneuve.
Bit of a clumsy pit entry there, not for Jacques, but just the geography of where his team are based down there really had to turn in. Others seem to have more space and they can sweep into their garage, and away goes Frentzen.
So, pouring in and pouring out thick and fast as up to lap the Benetton comes Mika Häkkinen, and out go the Ferrari crew. This is going to be the first Ferrari stop. Michael Schumacher has not been in, Rubens Barrichello has not been in. This is lap 20. The pit lane entry has been changed this year from before the chicane to after the chicane, and bang, there goes one of the Prosts. It looks like Jean Alesi to me.
And the marshal is on the wrong side. He's trying to make the cars go up the inside. That is not a happy place to be. And there is some liquid, of course, on the racetrack. I think the engine has blown on that Prost, sent him backwards across the grass. I'm sure we'll get a replay soon. And they have recovered the situation well. The track will be slippery. I believe that's turn 5 that they're through there.
It's one of the end
4
turners
or
in the
5.
snake. It's 5, I think, Martin. It's on the snake, definitely, out of turns 1 and 2. Another Peugeot engine gone kaput. Into the pit lane comes Rubens Barrichello from 4th position.
Well, he clearly had not got a lot of fuel on board then. He's the first Ferrari to stop, so Barrichello simply off the pace for whatever reason this afternoon. Rubens not having a happy weekend. He's had some great runs this year, but this weekend is not one of them.
Now, here is a straw for Ferrari lovers to clutch at. I offer it to you for what it's worth. As Jenson Button leaves the pits, it is that Michael Schumacher started this race on a very heavy fuel load and is struggling to keep up with Mika Häkkinen because of that. But Mika Häkkinen will come in earlier. Michael Schumacher will stay out for a long time and take the lead of the race. So think about that.
They're too close in pace for that to be the case, Murray, to be a significant difference in fuel load. It is for every 10 kilos of fuel, which is about probably 2.5 laps, it's something like 4/10 of a second, 4.5 of a second per lap. And really, I think there's the engine going, there's the Peugeot engine going, and it seizes up, locks up, and just spins Alesi around and puts him back onto the racetrack, deposits some fluid down, but nothing to do with Jean, nothing he could do about that at all. As soon as the hydraulic pressure decays, you cannot pull the clutch and release it, and if the engine seizes up, therefore, so do your rear wheels.
Bit of a bonus for Eddie Irvine, that, because Jacques Villeneuve was temporarily unsighted by that mass of white smoke. Probably had to back off a bit, and that has saved Eddie Irvine from attack from Jacques Villeneuve for a few yards. Irvine is still in 7th place, Villeneuve is 8th. 6th is Ralf Schumacher after the stops. Jenson Button is now ahead of his teammate, and they have both stopped. So Button is 5th, Ralf Schumacher is 6th. Barrichello in 4th position after his stop. And of course, Häkkinen, Schumacher and David Coulthard on lap 22 out of 53, coming up towards half distance and getting towards the end of the window for a two-stop strategy, are still about out on the track, not having come in. Look at the spoon. Häkkinen closing up now. He's taken Heidfeld. He's closing up on Pedro de la Rosa, who's 15th in the Arrows. And here is the first McLaren stop coming up. It'll be on lap 22 out of 53. Off the circuit goes Alex Wurz in 17th position. That's the spoon. And if you keep to the right where he is now, you're away from that very loose gravel and you can filter your way back onto the track. Very dusty motor car, but you live to fight another day.
Yes, you have to remember when you get down to 130 turn, it's Häkkinen. It's Häkkinen, the race leader, coming in for his first stop at the end of lap 22. And here we go then, James.
Yeah, and he comes now. Watch how long that fuel hose is on for. If it's on for anything like about 8 seconds, he's putting 50 kilos of fuel in. No, it's less than that. Short stop now. Ross Brawn is bringing Michael Schumacher in next lap by. And this is where the race is going to be won and lost, guys. It's how much fuel goes in and what the middle stint of the race is going to be.
Thanks, James. 6.8 seconds. He came in with a 2-second lap, like 2-second lead. Michael Schumacher, of course, is in the lead, and he knows he's got to go on this lap. He's got to try and go as fast as he possibly can and decrease the gap between between himself and Mika Hakkinen and rely on a perfect stop from the Ferrari people. Under 7 seconds, and it's going to be very close in that case when they come out to rejoin on lap 24.
Yes, Michael Schumacher wrestling the car through the Dunlop curve as we cut back to him. And his car is not handling as well as Mika Hakkinen's. But remember, he missed a run in qualifying yesterday. Michael only did 3 runs. He has 3 new sets of tyres available for this race. Mika Hakkinen only has 2. But Hakkinen will use his 2 new sets in the first 2 stints. So I don't think Schumacher will be able to do too much with his 3rd set. This is a crucial pit stop for the Ferrari mechanics. They need to win this championship for a driver for the first time in 21 years, as I'm sure you've heard many times. Now he must go through the last chicane before he comes into that pit lane. It cost him about 2 seconds extra to stop this year, and Michael is in. James, are you there?
I am indeed, Martin, and I've worked out that Mika Hakkinen took on 13 laps worth of fuel, that's all. So McLaren were the ones that short-fueled the car. What are Ferrari going to do? Michael goes in, the hose goes on as well. Everything looks fairly routine to me. I haven't got a clock, I don't know if you can see one. 7.4, a tiny bit more fuel for Michael Schumacher. So how many more laps has he got? He's going to do about 14 or 15 laps, maybe.
Oh, look at this. Here comes Mika Hakkinen on the right, and he's going to get through ahead of Michael Schumacher. The status quo has been retained almost exactly. I don't know what the time gap is, but it looks like a couple of seconds, maybe a bit more, because Michael Schumacher took 7.4 seconds on his stop, stationary that is, excluding the coming in and leaving, in comparison with Mika Hakkinen 6.8. And as you can see, there are some spots of rain on the lens there. Don't forget that the possibility of rain in this race still exists, and if it happens, it could absolutely transform it.
Not much meat left on those tyres, look, and virtually down to slicks on 2/3 of the tyre there for Michael Schumacher. But Hakkinen's outlap was absolutely blistering, incredible. The fastest man through the middle section of the lap, and his fastest sector at the end of the lap to really put something special in. To be sure, he was ahead of Michael Schumacher. Schumacher, as you saw, stopped for about 0.6 of a second worth more of fuel. James is right, I think he can go a bit further. Coulthard, the leader, current leader, will have to come in on this lap by the looks of it. Eddie Irvine fighting some nasty oversteer there in the Jaguar as Villeneuve homes in on him. And here comes Coulthard now into 130R. He will pit at the end of this lap.
And should get out with no problem at all before Rubens Barrichello, who is currently in 4th place, comes through. And Irvine, as you've seen, is still ahead in the Jaguar of Jacques Villeneuve as David Coulthard comes into the pit lane. Are you there, James? No? So, David Coulthard then, how does his stop compare with Michael Schumacher 7.4, Mika Hakkinen 6.8, and will he get out before Rubens Barrichello? Well, that's the fastest of the top men we've had so far. A superb 6.6 seconds for David Coulthard. And I'm looking to see where it... Look back, and when you see a red car, well, you won't see one because Rubens Barrichello is too far back even to appear before David Coulthard exits the pit lane. So we're back again. Hakkinen leads, Schumacher 2nd, Coulthard 3rd, Barrichello 4th, Ralf Schumacher is 5th, Jenson Button is in 6th place, still in the points, lap 25, just over half a race still to go. We're going. We'll be back as usual. as makes no difference. Half the Japanese Grand Prix of 2000 has been completed. Mika Häkkinen crosses the line. Now we're at Michael Schumacher, completing their 26th lap in this 53-lap race. Häkkinen is increasing his lead. He's gone up from 2.5 seconds to nearly 3 seconds. They have both stopped, as has David Coulthard, and in fact, as has everybody who is still in the race. Only 2 retirements, Sean Lacey and Jos Verstappen. Coulthard still third, then Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher and Jenson Button.
Yes, Häkkinen really putting the hammer down on that last lap for that 39.1. That's getting very close to the right lap record of this circuit. So Häkkinen on a flyer, deciding this is the stage of the race where he's going to stretch it out. While you're away, while we're in the break, Villeneuve passed Eddie Irvine into the chicane, a big, deep, desperate move on the brakes to into the last chicane, or triangle as they call it. He then passed over the curb with all 4 wheels, so whether he'll get any kind of penalty, I don't know. It was just a momentary thing, nothing showing on the computer at the moment, so it seems as if Villeneuve got away with it, and he is up into 7th place, and once again chasing Jenson Button.
Well, I know there's still half the race to go, and I know there is still another pit and fuel stop, and I know anything can happen, but it really is starting to look as though Mika Häkkinen, who won last year the race and the championship, and in 1998, is going to make it a hat-trick here, because Schumacher, try as he may, is not really making any difference to the gap between himself and Mika Häkkinen. Whether the German will shrug his shoulders after the race and say, I did the best I could and it wasn't good enough, or whether he's got some sort of problem like his tyres going off where Häkkinen's are not, I know not. We're going to have to wait and see.
Michael has responded, as you're saying, that with his fastest lap of the race on a 39.4, reduced the gap to 2.6 seconds, so he has got a bit more speed left there yet, but he's now got to encounter a back marker that Häkkinen has already cleared, and there'll be several more of those before the afternoon is finished.
Yeah, I think Häkkinen is coming up to Nick Heidfeld, the German in the Prost. He's going to be driving for Sauber next year, incidentally. Heidfeld, who is in 16th place. Fisichella and Wurz both doing very badly for Benetton. They're down in 17th and 19th places. And Benetton are 4th in the Constructors' Championship. And BAR and Jordan currently are only 3 points behind them. It could be a gigantic bonus for BAR if Jacques Villeneuve can make his way up through the field. And at the present moment, he is still behind Jenson Button, who is in 6th place. So Villeneuve still not in the points. There is Button.
Yes, the 2 Williams now line astern. Villeneuve just had a very poor lap, some 2.5 seconds off the pace. I just wondered if it started to rain out that side of the circuit, but others following him through are more on their normal pace, so clearly Villeneuve either made a mistake or has the beginning of some kind of problem, as Button now is looking just 1.7 seconds down the road at his experienced teammate Ralf Schumacher.
I haven't been doing much looking out of the window, to be honest with you, but now that I actually make an effort and do so, the flags are straining horizontally at their flag poles. There's quite a high wind blowing here at Suzuka, and it's very dark skies from the direction in which the wind is blowing. So the wind is bringing, I think, the rain clouds towards us. We were told that there could be rain any time between 2 and 5, and it is now 3:20 local time.
And it's Mika Häkkinen who's been quite slow last time around on a 40.2. Michael Schumacher's now got the gap down to just 2 seconds. We didn't see any of those 2 laps. You're watching Coulthard, who's 20 seconds behind the leaders, and Häkkinen appears to have lost quite a lot of pace on the previous lap, but it was Michael that was shaping up to pass Heidfeld. Häkkinen appeared to have a clear road.
And remember how Häkkinen was held up by Mazzacani in the American Grand Prix at Indianapolis 2 weeks ago. We had this unique sight of the yellow Minardi with newcomer Gaston Mazzacani holding up the double world champion in the best car in the field, because there is no doubt at all about the fact that the McLaren is the best car in the field, and I include Ferrari. But try as he may, Mika Häkkinen could not get past, as in comes Jarno Trulli for his second pit stop. This is lap 29 out of 53. and Trulli was in 11th position, about 14 seconds ahead of Pedro Diniz. It's going to be a very close thing, but Pedro Diniz should certainly have moved up into that place by the end of the lap. You're watching Mika Häkkinen and Schumacher looking a lot closer. But he's not. It's still 2.1 seconds. James, news?
Yeah, so I've just worked a few things out here. Häkkinen pitted on lap 22. He's going to go through to about lap 35. I believe Schumacher can go 2 laps longer. Now, they're encountering traffic, and there's a lot more traffic to come. De La Rosa, Salo, Zonta, Diniz, and Trulli will be encountered before the second round of pit stops. Schumacher's target, therefore, is to keep within 2 seconds of Häkkinen through all that traffic. If he can do that, he might be able to nick it at the second pit stop.
And they're scything their way through the traffic. It's amazing what a foreshortening effect television has, because Schumacher looks as though he's getting closer and closer as they come up to the hairpin.
He is, because Mika lost 0.4 of a second following the Jordan through T1. So Michael is quite a lot closer, and it must be tantalising for him. He can see that World Championship. If he can just get ahead of Häkkinen, he can take the World Championship today. And it must be so tantalisingly close to him. As James said, I think if he can really stay with Mika through this section, and he can do a couple more laps on this tank of fuel, he may just be able to get out ahead of him.
And here comes Häkkinen up to Pedro de la Rosa, 15th in the arrows. There is Michael Schumacher in second position. Will Pedro see both of them as into the pits comes Heinz-Harald Frentzen? Oh, off the track, out of the race. Frentzen retires, the third retirement of the race, and that is the 10th time in 16 races that Heinz-Harald Frentzen has retired. The bugbear of the Jordan team this year has been a lack of reliability. 10 retirements for Frentzen, and Trulli has retired 7 times as well. And a very gloomy Eddie Jordan pensively looks at the screen, because they are starting to see, as I have made clear already, the possibility of their 5th place in the Constructors' Championship disappearing, because Frentzen is certainly going to score no points. As you look down on this battle, this intriguing, continuing, non-stop battle between Mika Häkkinen and Michael Schumacher, and the gap now was 1.1 seconds, and Schumacher is really going for it. Up to the hairpin on lap 31 out of 53. Look at this. Now, this is real excitement. Michael Schumacher has got the bit between his teeth. Mika Häkkinen knows the gap of 2.5 seconds is down to just a few car lengths.
I'm absolutely sure that there is a little bit of drizzle falling, because everybody's lapping 1.5 seconds slower than they were earlier on. I know they've got more fuel on board now, but I'm pretty sure there's just a little tiny bit of drizzle out there that's making Häkkinen quite cautious.
And keep you in touch, David Coulthard is still third, 23 seconds behind the leaders. Rubens Barrichello, a massive 44 seconds, but still fourth. Jenson Button is fifth, 50 seconds behind them. Ralf Schumacher is sixth, in 54 seconds behind the leaders. But this is what the crowd is absolutely glued to watching. Over the line, 0.8 of a second. Michael Schumacher closes up on the gearbox of the McLaren Mercedes.
Now, whenever we've seen a damp track situation earlier in the year, it's always been the Ferrari that's quickest. They seem to have, despite McLaren's very well-balanced car, the Ferrari seems to thrive more, or maybe their drivers, I don't know what it is, but in these tricky conditions, it's Michael who's always seems to have the upper hand, and right now, I think you're seeing exactly that. They're now lapping down in the 141, mid-141, so that's 2.5 seconds off the fastest lap of the race. And the reason for that is, I believe, there's some moisture on the surface.
Degner 1, Degner 2, up to the hairpin, turn 11 on this track. 17 corners in all, down to 40 miles an hour, and Schumacher is hunting his finish prey. The McLaren Mercedes in front of him, the Ferrari V10 engine behind him, some 800 horsepower. They're on the same type of Bridgestone tyre, down into the spoon again. And David Coulthard still continues 24 seconds behind this titanic scrap, not only for victory in Japan, but for the possibility of the World Championship being completed right here today at Suzuka for the third year in succession.
And out of our view, Jenson Button has passed Ralf Schumacher somewhere. So Button now back up to 5th place, and still Villeneuve hunting down both those Williams. But Schumacher must have had a problem somewhere, Ralf, or made a mistake. Button has cleared him by some 4 seconds now.
Oh, look at this, that's Erja Häkkinen watching her husband in the lead. She knows that if Michael Schumacher can get past him, his hopes of the World Championship will be massively reduced, because there's still going to be the remaining laps in this race for him to do something about it if that happened. Lap 33, 20 laps to go, each of 3.6 miles. And Michael Schumacher, the implacable German, is on his 142nd Grand Prix, a double world champion like the man in front of him. A terrific record here at Suzuka. He was 3rd in 1996. He was excluded from the last race in 97, but last year he was in 5th position. Remember, he'd come back after being away from 6 races with that broken leg. Now, they are coming up to a batch of tail-enders. Heidfeld, Trulli and De La Rosa in 14th, 13th and 12th positions. So this could be Michael Schumacher's opportunity. On the other hand, if Mika Häkkinen, as you see the blue Prost coming up to the 130R, can exploit the situation better than Schumacher, it could be his. Coming up to the end of lap 33 now.
Yes, and interestingly also further down the field, 4th place man Barrichello starting to close in. He's now 20 seconds behind David Coulthard, 3rd place man. So at this part of the race, the Ferraris definitely have the edge on the McLarens in terms of pace, although Häkkinen now has managed to equal out that pace. So for the first time for several laps, Häkkinen has managed to keep that gap.
Yeah, and you can see how close he's getting to the car ahead. And it's actually Mika Salo in 11th position in the Sauber that they're closing up on. Salo is having a battle of his own with Ricardo Zonta's BAR in 10th position, and he moves over, he sees the approaching battle behind him, and in his gentlemanly Finnish way moves over and lets his countryman, who he's not at all fond of incidentally, through to retain the lead with Michael Schumacher under 1 second behind the McLaren. It's still anybody's race. They're coming up behind Zonta now in the BAR in 10th position. Villeneuve, incidentally, in the other BAR, still is not in a points scoring situation. He's in 7th place, 2.8 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher's BMW in the last points position, 6th place. Spoon turn. Zonta, 10th. Schumacher, 2nd. Ahead of him, Häkkinen, the leader. And Häkkinen is going to come up behind Zonta right on the hairpin. No, Zonta lets him through. Blue flag, well done. Now, is Zonta going to realise that Schumacher's behind him? Down to the...
Yeah, Zonta should just pull left and give Schumi the line. The racing... Oh, they so nearly touched there. Michael cut across back in front of Zonta before he'd cleared it. And they look like the faces of Zonta's right front and Schumacher's left rear must have virtually touched.
And as a result of that, up goes the gap from 9 tenths to 1.2 seconds. Mika Häkkinen gained 0.3 of a second.
Now watch this again, see how close they get. Michael goes over to take his normal line and Zonta's just coasting. And look, Zonta having to take to the grass virtually to stop them having an incident there. But if you notice on the cameras now, there's no more spots of rain appearing, and I think the track's beginning to dry out one more time, to be totally dry, that is, and you can see Häkkinen beginning slightly to re-establish himself.
Yeah, and you've got to remember that Mika Häkkinen cannot really afford to take a risk. He's 8 points behind Michael Schumacher in the championship. Michael Schumacher can afford to take a risk to a greater extent than Häkkinen can, but it's very, very close on lap 35. David Coulthard's obviously lapping slower than both of them, as a result of which the gap to 3rd place is increasing. but McLaren have got two cars in the top 3, and Ferrari have only got 1 car in the top 6 where you score World Championship points. No, I tell a lie, because Rubens Barrichello is in 4th position. So it's still mighty close for the Constructors' Championship, because McLaren are on a potential 14 points and Ferrari are on a potential 9. The gap is at the moment reduced in the Constructors' Championship from 10 points advantage for Ferrari to 5, but anything could happen in the remaining laps.
Yes, Coulthard's going to have to get on with it, otherwise he's going to find Barrichello very close to him at the end of the race. If he wants to defend those points for McLaren, he's certainly got to pick up his pace. Barrichello taking over a second a lap out of him at the moment, but as ever, the first 2 appear to be connected with a tow rope somehow, and the gap 1.1 seconds last time past the pits. Michael faster by exactly a 1/10 of a second on the previous lap.
Well, it's nice to see the race like this, because there were all sorts of evil theories being put about. Coulthard or Barrichello going to act as spoilers somehow. Difficult to see how they could when they were starting behind Schumacher and Häkkinen. There's obviously been no question of that. Neither of them have been in the race. David Coulthard well behind in 3rd position. Barrichello has dramatically, however, increased his position in the race. He's still in 4th place where he started it on the grid, and in comes Ralf Schumacher from 6th position for his 2nd pit stop, and as a result of that, Villeneuve moves up into the points in the BAR, and the nearest Jordan behind him is Trulli in 14th position, because Frentzen is out of the race.
Yes, gearbox problems for Frentzen apparently, or transmission I should say, to be more precise, for Frentzen, who was the 3rd retirement of this race. So Verstappen out first with gearbox problems, Alesi with the blown engine, and Frentzen with transmission problems too. So 19 runners now as they come through to complete lap 36.
And if the order is the same at the end of the race as it was at the end of lap 36, which they have just completed with the gap down to 0.8 of a second, and Mika Häkkinen wins it, he gets 10 World Championship points to Michael Schumacher's 6. The World Championship would be alive as we go to Malaysia in 2 weeks' time, and the gap between them would be reduced from the 8 points it was when this race began to 4 points. An absolutely scintillating consideration.
I believe it's drizzling again very, very slightly, and once again Michael appears to have the upper hand. It's incredible, isn't it? Totally dry track, Häkkinen's got about a 10th. When it's damp, slightly damp, it's Michael with about 3/10 in his pocket. He'll be hoping for a bit more of that stuff falling out of the sky, I would imagine, because it's certainly giving him a chance all the time to close in on Mika Häkkinen, who is shaping up to lap the 2 Jaguars. Herbert in 8th, Eddie Irvine in 9th place.
Yes, but I'm going to trot out the hoary old cliche, catching is one thing, passing another, and Schumacher has not yet caught Mika Häkkinen to be close enough to make a challenge. And Mika Häkkinen certainly is going to make it easy, as out come the McLaren mechanics for a 2nd stop.
And I see some red overalls in the background as well. Will Ferrari respond immediately to this? It was Barrichello, the first Ferrari to stop last time around. So we watch closely. Does Häkkinen peel in and avoid that traffic? Yes, he does. So it must be Barrichello Ferrari are getting ready for, unless they're playing games. So Häkkinen is James.
Michael Schumacher takes the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix as Mika Häkkinen comes in. There's still a bit of drizzle around. McLaren would dearly love for both the 2 cars to have stopped at the same time. It wasn't going to be possible. A lot of discussion on the pit wall to see if they could make the fuel last. Häkkinen 7.4. These next 2 laps could well decide the Japanese Grand Prix.
And the World Championship. Michael Schumacher has got those 2 Jaguars in front of him, which will inhibit him, if not stop him, from making the searing lap that he would need to make, having taken the lead, in order to try to decrease the gap between himself and Mika Häkkinen. There we are, you see.
Yes, he's still behind both of them, Murray, so he hasn't cleared either of them yet. Irvine moves easily out of the way. Teammates from last year, of course. Eddie Irvine clears the path for Michael Schumacher, The Jaguars beginning to struggle on pace. I think Herbert had a problem last time around, and it's absolutely crucial for Michael Schumacher's chances of winning this race and this championship to clear that Jaguar before the end of the lap.
Excellent bit of flag marshalling there, the Japanese and the rain, look at that! This could, because they can bring him in now for wet tyres. Michael Schumacher could come in and change to a more appropriate tyre, because if this rain continues, the track will get wet pretty quickly. And remember that Mika Häkkinen has been in and has gone out on a new set of grooved tyres for dry track conditions. Let's wait and see what tyres Michael Schumacher's Ferrari receives.
Well, if Schumacher passes the pit lane, so he's not coming in this time around. It's not wet enough for wets, that's for sure. Even the intermediates wouldn't last more than two or three laps around here. It's Barrichello that must be coming in the pits this time around. Michael Schumacher with a 1:42.3, so his opportunity to stamp a quick lap out was spoiled by having to lap the two Jaguars and the amount of rain that's beginning to fall.
But remember 2 weeks ago in Indianapolis how Michael Schumacher stayed out on wet weather tyres as the track was drying much longer than anybody expected him to. He can be an absolute master at driving on what seems to be the wrong tyre type. In dry conditions he can make it go in wet, and in wet conditions he can make it go in dry. But whatever, Mika Häkkinen and Schumacher are both in on dry weather tyres. Mika Häkkinen has stopped. In comes Rubens Barrichello. And unless they get him out very quickly indeed, that's going to mean to say that they're not going to have Michael Schumacher's wheels and tyres ready for him.
I think Michael might have another lap left. Yeah, remember, James did the calculations. We think Michael could go probably 2 laps longer, but we'll have to wait and see. But there is only one tyre choice at the moment, and that is slicks. There is no other option at all. It makes no sense to be on anything else. You'll be so slow, you'll trash them in 2 or 3 laps, so you may as well come in yet again if you have to, would be the right decision.
A fantastic development, because now on lap 39 out of 53, as he tears off a visor, Michael Schumacher leads the Japanese Grand Prix the previous lap by 25 seconds, 25.6 to be exact. Over the line on those dry weather tyres, we wait for Mika Häkkinen to come through as Johnny Herbert, who has now been lapped, and Irvine, who have been lapped and are in 8th and 9th positions, come through. Now, Mika Häkkinen, we're still waiting for the Ferrari to come through, the McLaren to come through, and the McLaren mechanics are out again. That must be for David Coulthard, who has yet to come in. Only Mika Häkkinen of the leaders has stopped twice.
So Mika's crew, Michael's crew getting ready there, you can see. Interestingly, Mika Häkkinen was exactly 1.2 seconds slower than Michael Schumacher on the last lap. Remember, before these pit stops commenced, the second stop commenced, the gap was 0.9 of a second. So it's going to be absolutely nip and tuck. The Ferrari team have got to put 2 laps less worth of fuel in. Their stop should also be a fraction faster than Häkkinen's, and they may just get their man out onto the track, but they're going to be virtually side by side unless there's some kind of drama on Michael's in-lap or during the pit stop.
And that would be with 13.13 laps still to go. Now, keep it calm. Michael Schumacher out of the spoon. Is he going to cut up to the car in front of him quickly enough for it to impede his progress? Round the hairpin behind him goes the McLaren. Here comes the race leader. We know that the Ferrari mechanics are out in the pit lane. I'm looking through the window at them as I talk to you. Down to the chicane. This is going to be the crucial stop that decides it. And he dodges a spun Benetton, that of Alex Wurz, down in 18th position as the 2 Jaguars go by.
Now here's the pit stop, James.
Yes, he's made half a second on Häkkinen on this lap. He had a 26.8 second lead. I think it's going to be enough, guys. If this stop is anything, yes, it's definitely going to be enough. He's going to do it.
I think you're right.
Häkkinen has not gone through. There is the McLaren going through the chicane. Look for it as here comes Michael Schumacher rejoining the track, and he's ahead of Mika Häkkinen. The horns blow because they're as keen on Ferrari in Japan as they are in most other countries. There
is a sea of Ferrari flags and red hats here. They want Schumacher to win. He's now on lap 41 out of 53, looking good for his 8th win of the year, which would make him world champion for the 3rd time. But let's not count any Ferrari chickens before they are hatched. There are still 12 laps to go.
So 2 poor laps by Mika Hakkinen on the damp track, and a stunning pit stop by the Ferrari team has put Michael Schumacher into the lead of this race for the first time this afternoon. Schumacher leads Hakkinen. Coulthard 40 seconds down the road. Barrichello 4th. Jenson Button still in 5th. Ralf Schumacher in 6th. We're going to take a short break. Be back.
Grand Prix and 6th position. Jacques Villeneuve moves up in the BAR for that single point which could take the BAR team ahead of Jordan in the Constructors' Championship. This is what happened.
Yes, he put a wheel up on the white line, ran in too deep into 1 and spins off before ever arriving into 2. Very close up behind the Minardi, and another mistake there for Ralf Schumacher. Not been one of his greatest seasons by any stretch, and tried to gently pull away in that gravel trap, but it dug in, the floor pan bottoms out, and that's it. You just can't find any traction. Michael Schumacher now still with a 4.1 second lead last time around. Barrichello now levelling out with Coulthard, 10 seconds behind Coulthard in 3rd place. Is Coulthard, Barrichello 4th, Button now a clear 5th. Now that Schumacher is in the boondocks, and Villeneuve, as you say, moving up into the final points, and the 2 Jaguars, 7 and 8.
And one of the German journalists has done a very detailed examination of driver mistakes during this season. And you know who's made the least mistakes of all? The man you're looking at, Jenson Button, who is in 5th position. James, over to you.
Murray, I've felt some raw emotions in the last 10 years of being in Ferrari garage. They were also rounds 5 or 6 years ago. The mechanics are in tears here, some of them. They really don't know what to do with themselves. It's absolute agony. They're fidgeting, they can't watch the television, they don't know what to do. It's the 4th straight year they've come looking for a championship and been within sight of it. It might be another earthquake, guys, but I could swear this whole garage is shaking.
Well, that may well be so, but if Michael Schumacher wins this race in the championship, and we've still got 9 laps to go, it will be no more than he deserves. In 1995, he made a brave policy decision to leave Benetton as double world champion, and join the broken Ferrari team to try to revive it. That was going to be his challenge. Well, he didn't do so in 96. He had a terrible 97 season when he was excluded from the World Championship after having a rather rumbustious coming together with Jacques Villeneuve in the last race of the year at Jerez. He didn't win it in 98 when Häkkinen stole it from him at the last race of the year at Suzuka. He didn't win it in 1999 when Häkkinen did exactly the same thing, from second on the grid in the case of the Finn. But now Michael Schumacher is not only leading the race on lap 44 out of 53, but he is increasing his lead over the man you're looking at, Mika Häkkinen. As you can see, the gap now is 4.7 seconds. David Coulthard is third, as he has been for the whole race. Rubens Barrichello, who I frankly admit has disappointed me in this race, is the second Ferrari, and Ferrari are looking good in the Constructors' Championship as they are in the Drivers' Championship, because both their cars are in the top four, as are both the McLarens. Jenson Button looks like scoring another 2 World Championship points to add to the 10 that he has already, with a possible 5th place for Williams. He's the star of this year in many, many ways. And Jacques Villeneuve on 1 World Championship point for BAR to move them ahead of Jordan. But what a race it's been for Michael Schumacher.
Well, he kept his head, didn't he, in the early part, and just kept attacking Mika to be sure he was somewhere near, there or thereabouts, so that with that extra fuel they put on board, McLaren, I think, were a touch conservative on how much fuel they gave Mika in that first stop, because I think they had a bit more of a lead than that. They wanted to ensure track position, and it's cost them in the end. It enabled Michael to have those 2 extra laps before coming in, a slightly shorter fill, and just to really help it along, it was spitting with rain, and Mika was not lapping that fast. We're going to take a short break.
Lap 47 coming up out of 53 at Suzuka. And if you root for McLaren, get on your knees and pray. If you root for Ferrari, do the same thing, because Michael Schumacher is leading Mika Häkkinen by a decreased gap. It's come down from 5 seconds to 4.3 seconds. Mika Häkkinen's last lap was 0.4 of a second faster than Michael Schumacher. The Finn can only attack now, throw caution to the winds, really go for it. He's got nothing to lose. Michael Schumacher coming up to lap the Jaguar in front of him, which will hopefully move over and let him through. It looks like Eddie Irvine's car, the man who was his teammate last year. But Michael Schumacher, at the moment, at the rate they are going and the number of laps they've got, obviously, but he moves through on the inside at the hairpin.
Yes, and the reason he's moving past the Jaguars again, of course, is he's made a pit stop since he passed them last time around, where you lose about 25 seconds. So Michael having to repass both Jaguars, the first one of them down, and Johnny Herbert about 3 seconds down the road, and there's the sign that says it all. It's lap 6 to go, plus 4.3 seconds from Hackey, as they put it, to shorten it up on the board. And Michael now looking supremely confident.
6 laps to go at the end of this race. A Japanese Grand Prix which has been full of excitement and nail-biting interest all the way through. Michael Schumacher has never given up. His superiority in slightly declining weather conditions has shown. 4.3 seconds was the gap. He's got one Jaguar between himself and Mika Hakkinen. 4.2 seconds is the gap now. He's on his 48th lap with just those few 3.6 miles between himself and his third World Championship to join those great champions of the past I was talking about earlier on.
He'll need to keep his wits about him. They're now running 5 seconds slower than they were earlier in the race. That tells you just how damp the racetrack is. Remember, Michael Schumacher spun off leading in Indianapolis through lack of attention. And look, you can see the rain falling now against the back of Ron Dennis's black jacket there, and Michael will have to be super cautious. Barrichello made a mistake last time around. He slipped back slightly from Coulthard. I don't know what their problems are back there, but Barrichello was certainly beginning to threaten, and that would give Ferrari an even bigger stranglehold on the manufacturer's title, and it looks like they're in with a great chance of the driver's title.
As Johnny Herbert moved over and courteously let Michael Schumacher through. So the German has now got not one but 2 Jaguars between himself and Mika Hakkinen. I wouldn't expect Irvine and Herbert to be any less considerate of Mika Hakkinen trying to pass them than they were of Michael Schumacher. But the fact is he's got to do it, and he might be trying to do so at the wrong place.
Now, the reason he can attack 130R like that with an apparently slightly damp track is because at that kind of speed you've got much more downforce than the car weighs. You could drive it along the ceiling at that speed. It's got so much downforce, and it's in the slower corners or the medium speed corners where you have to be extra careful, as Irvine in the background there moves out of the way for Mika Hakkinen. The gap remains 4.4 seconds, and Barrichello is now falling away from Coulthard. But all 3 of them now, Coulthard, Barrichello and Button, lapping very slowly. And so is Villeneuve. I don't know what they're finding around the other side of the track that the 2 leaders are not.
Well, once again, we're seeing that McLaren and Ferrari, who between them have scored 73% of the World Championship points which are available so far, are dominating the race. Their 4 drivers are in the first 4 places, which means to say that, in effect, all the rest of them, the other 18 drivers, are trying to win a race by taking 5th position. And the man who's doing that is Jenson Button. And this is the first time he's driven at Suzuka, which is a driver's circuit. So he's effectively leading Division 2, if you like. And he's leading Division 2 by a commanding 20 seconds from Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR. Yet again, the Canadian is going to be in the points. He's had a lot of 4th places this year, and he's had 5th positions as well. He's going to have a 6th position in this race as Michael Schumacher comes round the 130R, down to the chicane again to complete his 49th lap.
Well, it would have to rain quite hard for them to be worth coming in for a set of wets. It's certainly not looking like that at the moment, but I think with the time left, the laps available, they just have to somehow scamper around. But if it really bucketed down, it would be worth coming in for a set of wets. Otherwise, you can fall off the road so easily. Genet there I would think he's broken down rather than anything else, and Michael Schumacher in to turn 1 for the 50th lap.
Lapping 4.5 seconds slower than the fastest lap we've had so far, that of Mika Häkkinen on lap 26, 1 minute 39.2, and that is some 2 seconds faster than the fastest lap we had last year.
Let me just remind you how Michael Schumacher got in the lead of this race. Poor start. Mika Häkkinen took the lead despite Schumacher trying to squeeze him out down the right-hand side of the road, and then he just stayed with him, stayed within a couple of seconds. Looked like Häkkinen had a bit more pace in the beginning, and at the first of their 2 scheduled stops, Ferrari put in more fuel. Schumacher could then run 2 laps further, and in those 2 laps he was faster than Mika Häkkinen. He came in 0.9 behind Häkkinen, and he made up nearly 5 seconds because of a great stop by the Ferrari team, 6.0 seconds, and he was quicker in those 2 crucial laps by another 4 seconds over Mika Häkkinen, and that is why the Scarlet Ferrari is running at the front of the field now by 5.8 seconds. It seems like Häkkinen has probably given up the chase.
And Michael Schumacher would be adding another 10 points to the second highest total in the history of Formula One that he already has. He's got 660 points now to Alain Prost's 798. Just 1.5 points off the magic 800. An incredible figure. And Michael Schumacher could beat that if he goes on to continue in Formula One, as he has said he would do. Over the line again. Lap 51 is the one that Michael Schumacher is on now. 3 laps including the one that he is on. 5.6 seconds. Mika Häkkinen must just be hoping for the best now. And the best, as far as he's concerned, would be that Michael Schumacher strikes one of several possible alternatives. Traffic which slows him up, which is not likely, or that he has some kind of a defect.
Michael barely on the throttle there through turn 6, Murray. Absolutely amazing. Just really just coasting on that throttle. The track must be very, very slippery now. It doesn't look it from here, does it? But Michael just squeezing the throttle and look, fighting the car through the exit there of Degner 2. That track is much more treacherous than it looks.
Yeah, he is acknowledged to be, as he has proved many, many times, to be the rainmaster. Who will ever forget his victory at Spain for Ferrari, his victory at Monaco for Ferrari in appalling weather conditions. If anybody can find traction in greasy or wet conditions, it's going to be Michael Schumacher. He's on his 51st lap now, coming towards the end of, coming up to the 130R and the chicane again to complete 51 laps, to start his 52nd and last lap, but one.
That's how slippery it's getting. It's so difficult to hear the throttle because the Japanese director leaves another system open somewhere. You can hear all sorts of engine noises, but Michael Schumacher there getting a nasty wobble on the exit of 130R, and that will surprise him. That'll give him a bit of a wake-up call too, because you would not normally expect the car to be out of shape there.
Remember how he had that wake-up call at Indianapolis when he actually spun as he was coming in the closing laps of the race and managed to recover it. James, what's your news?
Murray, it's unbelievable. The Ferrari mechanics have got their hands together as if they're in prayer. They're 2 laps away from the dream. And the man who's most uncomfortable of all is Willy Weber, Michael Schumacher's manager. Not only does he stand to make hundreds of millions of dollars if this comes off, I'm told, of course, 2 times he made some Michael Schumacher world champion caps, and both times Schumacher failed to win the championship. This time I just asked him, where are the caps, Willy? He said, this year we didn't make no caps.
Well, let me tell you this. If Michael Schumacher wins this race, and he's not far off starting his last lap, it will not just be down to Michael Schumacher. Formula One is a team event. It will be down to a lot of other people. Luca Di Montezemolo, the boss of Ferrari, who has supported them through thick and thin. Jean Todt, the little Frenchman, who is the team manager, who has led the Ferrari revival. Ross Brawn, the English technical director, who has done a fantastic job in terms of not only developing the cars, but race strategies. And by no means least, South Africa's Rory Byrne, who sits patiently in Italy, and we very seldom see him at races. The man who designed the winning Benettons for Michael Schumacher when he was double world champion, and has now designed the winning Ferraris. the wind tunnel experts at Maranello, all the people in Italy who produce these magnificent motor cars. And Formula One will rejoice, the world will rejoice if Ferrari wins it. They richly deserve to.
I can see a national holiday in Italy coming up at the end of this flying lap if Michael Schumacher keeps it all pointing in the right direction. And certainly no sign of any further heavier rain. So Michael then with about 3.5 miles to go to his 3rd Formula One World Championship.
Can they believe it? Out come the Ferrari mechanics to greet home their ultimate hero, Michael Schumacher. The Japanese are following the Germans here with their air horns and giving it lots and lots of welly, the maximum amount of noise. You are about to see Germany's Michael Schumacher in Italy's Ferrari become world champion.
Häkkänen's just done the fastest first sector of the race. Häkkinen, the gap down to 4.2. He will not let Michael Schumacher relax and enjoy. Look, in the background there's not enough time for him to do anything, but he's going to keep Michael honest all the way to the checkered flag. Michael's starting to coast because he does not want to push his luck on this tricky, slimy racetrack, and Häkkinen is saying, right, I'm going to make you really work all the way to the line. But I don't think Häkkinen has enough time left. Clearly, he does not have enough time left to spoil Michael Schumacher and Ferrari's party.
But it shows what a worthy double world champion Mika Häkkinen is. He refuses to give up. A magnificent race for Häkkinen, a superb race for McLaren, but a brilliant race for Michael Schumacher, who exits the chicane for the 53rd and last time to win the 2000 Japanese Grand Prix and the World Championship for the 3rd time, to give Ferrari and Italy their dream. And look, he knows it. He is absolutely beside himself with joy. He contained himself. You heard Martin say how nervous he was at the beginning of the race, but his ultimate dream has been succeeded. He can now let the emotion flood, and when he gets out of this car, he will be out of the cockpit, over to the mechanics to greet them and thank them for everything they've done. Well, the floodgates have broken for Ferrari. It's a well-deserved victory. It would have been no less well-deserved if McLaren had won it, because they try just as hard as do all the other Formula One teams. But in the end, somebody has to be first and somebody has to be second. This year, it was Schumacher and Ferrari. This year, it was Häkkinen and McLaren. So, a new name amongst those 3 times world champion winners. Fangio won it 5 times, Prost won it 4 times, but Jack Brabham, Jackie Stewart, Niki Lauda, Nelson Piquet and Ayrton Senna won it, and now Michael Schumacher, 3 times world champion. We're leaving, but we will be back for the podium.
Ci vediamo come con Ron Dennis se possiamo. Cappellino! Andiamo dietro! Sei pronto? Porta fortuna ragazzi! Zac!
Ce la fate in fondo! Rubens vai sotto il Rubens, ho vinto già con questo! Forza, allora! Ti vuoi vinto la stecca! Vai dal tuo cazzo! Io l'ho messo nel culo a sia sempre. Troppo bello.
Già lo spavolo!
Senti, ma lei mi dice io a questo punto. Grazie, grazie.
Beide aufstehen und uns verneigen vor Schumacher und Ferrari.
Michael Schumacher, Drivers' World Champion year 2000. How do you feel?
Similar to Monza, but don't expect me fall into tears now. But again, it's difficult to find proper words for such feeling. I mean, there was such an outbreak of emotion initially when I crossed the line. I mean, this conditions were difficult today. The rain, no rain, little bit more. The upgoing, the downgoing through the season, and then finally achieve it with a victory, the way we did it in, I mean, a fight until the last corner, thanks to Mika. Could have done it a bit easier for me. That's simply outstanding, and no words for it to explain it any better.
It's been 5 years since your second World Championship. Were there periods during that period where you thought it's never going to happen again?
No, I didn't think it would never going to happen again. But obviously, every year it didn't happen. It got longer and longer, and you somehow get more upset that it doesn't work finally, even though we always felt we had an opportunity, and then we couldn't use it for many reasons. And finally doing it, I mean, it's simply great. I mean, imagine what is going on right now in Italy. That must be simply amazing.
The race turned at the second pit stop, and we heard you on the driver audio thanking Ross. I mean, what was the conversation between you two around that time on the second stop?
Basically, as we saw Mika going in for his pit stop, we knew we had a couple more laps to go, and we knew these were the crucial lap. The problem was I had traffic, and I wouldn't say it was too easy to pass them because it cost me a little bit of time. And then when I entered the pits, there was this Benetton spinning in front of me and moving backwards, and I didn't know where is he going to go. So I thought it isn't enough, simply, because it was spitting off rain, and I wasn't really thinking I was going as fast as I should have done. And then I came out, and Ross kept me updated, say it's looking good, it's looking good, it's looking good down the pit lane in 80 kilometers per hour. And he says, I was just waiting for the word, no, it was not looking good enough, or things like this, because you cannot see where is your competitor. And then he said, it's looking bloody good. And that was obviously an amazing moment. And from that on, I mean, you simply just hope nothing breaks. The rain, which was going on and off again, wasn't helpful, because as you're in front, you don't want to make a mistake. If you're behind, you somehow have nothing to lose. You have to keep pushing. And it wasn't the ideal circumstance, but in the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it's ideal or not. It was enough.
Many congratulations. Thank you, Michael. Mika, you've been a superb world champion for the last 2 years, but your reign for now is over. How do you feel?
So sad. Anyway, congratulations for Michael anyway, really, doing great season, very tough, first of all. It's definitely has been a very interesting this year, and it has been also up and downs for us. And in other hand, I understand it's sometimes some other drivers' turn to win, and to be a good winner, sometimes you have to be a good loser too. It doesn't mean you have to be very happy about it to be second or lose, but to give the enjoyment and pleasure for the driver who has won. And that is the Michael at the moment. He's done the best possible job this year. We weren't able to do it, so naturally I feel a bit disappointed, but same time I feel I have won 2 years in a row in 98, 99, so life continues and racing continues. You have to keep fighting, and I'm sure we will see exciting races in the future too.
Talking about the race, as we said, it was the second pit stop where things changed. How did you see it from the McLaren point of view?
The time when I went in the pits for my second stop, everything looked pretty good, and the pit stop went fine. The mechanics and the team did a fantastic work. I went out on the track and I still realized that Michael hasn't stopped, so I automatically realized that he has an advantage to push gap for me, and our gap was anyway, before I pitted, was something like 1 second or 1.5 seconds, so I knew it's going to be very, very tough. So when I went out, I had first of all a little bit of traffic, and some reason it started raining also same time a little bit more, so I was just sliding all over the place, not able to get the grip on the tires. So that gave the opportunity to Michael to get in front of me in the second stop. So, and after that, you know, it was just trying to keep up and try to go flat out. Even the conditions were difficult, but it did not enough. And the final lap, obviously, Michael probably a little bit slowed down, and I went like over the limit, just tried to catch for the last lap, and I got quite close, but it did not enough.
Mika, thank you very much.
Thanks.
David, I'm afraid we were concentrating on the battle between the top two there. What was your race like?
Well, I completely understand. I had a very quiet race from the start. Didn't really have too much of a battle, and it was just a question of you know, trying to keep the car on the track in what were very difficult conditions.
Okay. As Michael returns to us. Thank you, David, for that one. You put me off there. Michael, as you said, Italy's already celebrating the first Ferrari World Champion for 21 years, I think. How are you going to celebrate tonight?
Yeah, I guess we haven't planned anything, and I ask everyone not to plan anything because I simply feel it gives unluck. And we improvise, you say? Or, yeah. So we will do something, I'm sure.
That's great, thank you. And now a word from Michael in your own languages. Starting with Michael.
Ja, hij had er geen woorden voor.
wel komt daar maar geen einde. Barrichello, kleurloze race, slechte start. Viel terug naar de 6e plaats, zou uiteindelijk 4e worden. Deze man begon dus goed, Ralf Schumacher, maar viel uiteindelijk uit. Dus pakte Jensen Button uiteindelijk de 5e plaats. Hier een prachtige inhaalmanoeuvre van Jacques Villeneuve bij Eddie Irvine. Beide heren hebben heel wat jaartjes in Japan gereden. We kennen het circuit van Suzuka dus goed. Uitvallen van IJzerhalt Franse. Ook zo'n Japanganger. Adrian Newey kijkt even naar boven. En jawel hoor, het gaat regenen. Ook dat nog. Dan het moment waarop Zonta aangetikt wordt door Michael Schumacher. Maar dat loopt allemaal goed af. Trulli die toch wel wat problemen had om zijn wagen op de baan te houden. En hier de pitstop van Johnny Herbert. Die pakt goed uit. Komt voor Eddie Irvine. Ze eindigen wel allebei buiten de punten. Dan de tweede pitstop van Hakkinen. Hij komt als eerste naar binnen toe. Wordt dan opgehouden door Pedro La Rosa. Dat scheelt toch kostbare seconden. En later zal hij dus ook nog de wagen van Alexander Wurz tegenkomen. Kijk, Wurz spint hier op het moment dat Schumacher naar binnen wil gaan. Die komt dan nog netjes omheen. Duikt dan naar binnen toe. Kijk, dat gebeurt hier. En dan komt even later dus Mika Hakkinen. Die alles bij elkaar dus gewoon te veel tijd gespeeld. Want kijk, hier Schumacher naar buiten toe. Een snelle pitstop. En daar komt dan pas Mika Hakkinen. En dan ligt Schumacher dus voor. Dan gaat hij 10 WK-punten scoren. En kijk eens naar deze man. Yes, 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 we've done it. En dan op z'n Italiaans natuurlijk. Nog even benauwde momenten in de achterhoede bij Michael Schumacher. Ralf Schumacher. Wat scheelt het? Alleen een voornaam. Dit was ook wel een aardige manoeuvre trouwens van de La Rosa. Die zo Fisichella naar het gras dwingt. De uitvallen van Marc Gené met de Minardi. Laat nog wat olie op de baan achter. Boom, wegmotor. En dan de man op weg naar zijn wereldtitel, zijn derde. Maar wel de mooiste uit zijn loopbaan. 2 keer met Benetton in 94 en 95. Hield de adem in. Dat deden ze trouwens allemaal bij Ferrari. Maar het liep allemaal goed af. Eindgoed, al goed. Zo zou je het misschien nog het beste kunnen samenvatten. Nou Jan, geweldige race. En ja, het is sowieso wel een prachtig seizoen.
Ja, ik denk echt een hele mooie race. Zeker als je ook ziet het, wat achter de grote heeft plaatsgevonden. Waar natuurlijk inderdaad Coulthard en Barrichello die met z'n twee eigenlijk een kleurloze race reden. En die vallen natuurlijk in de schaduw. En nog even Jean Todt met Michael Schumacher. Eindelijk is de klus geklaard.
En dus er was er die grote kus. Kijk, daar is hij voor Corina. Die enorme sprong op het podium. Oppassen voor je enkel. De tricolore kan in de top. En ja, het feest is waarschijnlijk in Italië al in volle gang. Terwijl daar de tranen vloeien bij Corina Schumacher. Italië heeft iets te vieren. Want Ferrari, de nationale trots, heeft de wereldtitel weer te pakken in de Formule 1. Na 21 lange jaren wachten. En daarvoor mogen ze deze man wel bedanken. Ja, hij zal daar de status krijgen van God. In Italië, Michael Schumacher, die stelling durf ik dan nog wel aan.
Nou, in Italië denk ik dat je daar toch aardig wat voor aan moet richten. Maar,
nou, kijk eens. Had ooit mooie lange manen, is nu kaal. Maar wat maakt het ook allemaal uit, want zijn renstal Ferrari is wereldkampioen. Wordt er nog gefeest vanavond? Nou, Schumacher, ze hadden niks gepland. Maar het ongetwijfeld zal het nog lang gezellig zijn in Japan. Nou, daar gaan ze dan. Ja, jongen. Je had het beloofd. Nee, doe het maar niet. Oké, haal ze maar weg. Ferrari viert feest. Ferrari is blij. En daar Barrichello, die even moeite heeft met het herkennen van deze man. Goed. De tondeuze maakt overuren bij Ferrari en daar wil ik het eigenlijk maar bij laten. Michael Schumacher is de nieuwe wereldkampioen voor Ferrari. Na 79 heeft Jody Scheckter dus eindelijk een opvolger gekregen. Jan Lammers en ondergetekende, we deden het graag voor u. Het was een mooie Grand Prix. Nog geen afsluiting van het mooie jaar, want we krijgen nog de grote prijs van Maleisië over 2 weken. En wie weet wordt dat wel een hele krankzinnige race met allemaal mensen die graag nog een overwinning willen boeken. Maar vandaag is de dag van Ferrari, de dag van Michael Schumacher. Ik dank u voor het kijken. Tot over 2 weken. Dag.
looking for a quiet day as we run through the complete list of how things went in the Japanese Grand Prix. If you're looking for a quiet day today, Tony, steer clear of Maranello in northern Italy.
That is the place. Well, the square in there, they've got the little bell and the little statue in the middle. That's where, if anything happens, anything goes wrong, like when they got the pit stop wrong for Irvine last year, they put a wheel outside it, said, we found the missing wheel for you. The whole of Italy will come to a standstill. It will go absolutely berserk, and quite right too, because they're so deserving. And Jean Todt said we will work night and day to try and secure this championship. Luca di Montezemolo, the president of Ferrari, said, let's keep calm. The job is not done yet. He said that before qualifying. And now they've done the job. And Michael Schumacher, incidentally, by winning 8 Grand Prix, that is the most a Ferrari driver has ever won since 1950. Before that was Ascari in 52, 53, so that's another record for the great Michael Schumacher.
And the Ferrari flags, the prancing horse, fluttering there at Suzuka in Japan, where the rain really stayed away for the most part. A bit of drizzle around, and Michael Schumacher recovering after that poor start. And on the back of the second pit stop, Schumacher coming through to win in Japan and win the World Championship as well. Very shortly we're going to be hearing from the top 3 in the press conference. He did recover pretty well, didn't he? Because after that start, Tony, we feared the worst perhaps for him again.
Yeah, but you know, it was a difference between the two drivers of who wanted it so badly. Michael Schumacher wanted it badly, and we've seen in Indianapolis, and we've seen here, Michael Schumacher
welcome to the top 3 finishing
risks.
drivers at the year 2000 Japanese Grand Prix. It's Michael Schumacher.
You know, trying to keep the car on the track in what were very difficult conditions.
Okay. As Michael returns to us. Thank you, Dave, for that one.
Well, there we are then, very gracious Mika Hakkinen. We'll be right back, Tony and I, to pinpoint the main moments of the Japanese Grand Prix in which Michael Schumacher became world champion. OK then, Tony, let's wind back to the start of the Japanese Grand Prix. We pointed out before the problems that Schumacher has with that downhill start at Suzuka. He veered across, didn't he? But Hakkinen went by him.
I know, but we say, you know, how does he put it behind him that he's got to this last hurdle so many times before? And here it is again, a bad start from Michael Schumacher. An incredibly brilliant start from Mika Hakkinen there. But instead of a zigzag, it was just a zag from Michael Schumacher going across one time. And if you look at it again from here, look, he goes straight across there and puts the squeeze immediately on Mika Hakkinen. He tries it on, prepared to take a risk, even in this, you know, championship showdown as far as he was concerned, trying to get this race wrapped up.
They had a continual sort of dice, didn't they? The big two, and then Zonta and Schumacher had a very close thing. In fact, they probably almost touched.
Well, Ferrari wear their hearts on their sleeves, you know, but the hearts were in their mouths. Must have been with this shades of Austria. It was Zonta who went into Michael Schumacher in Austria and took him out there, and just fractions between the two tyres there, and the Ferrari guys must have really got very, very worried about that. But again, taking those risks, and of course the damp track as well, playing into Schumacher's hands.
There was so much tension, wasn't there, around the pit stops, but it all revolved around the second pit stop, and another scare for Schumacher going into that.
Yeah, very, very critical, and there was traffic going in there. Already Hakkinen had got past Zonta, going around there, and there was Vert spun in the path there, coming out of the triangle, out of the hairpin. You can imagine that sight, car broadside right in front of you. Now, the Ferrari guys have been practicing their pit stops. They're brilliant at this. They put in a stop really, really good. But, of course, they put that extra bit of fuel in at the first stop, and that had given them the opportunity to stay out those couple of extra laps. And Michael talked about it in the press conference, that, of course, he'd had to negotiate those two Jaguars. He thought it hadn't been enough, but there it was. That crucial second stop comes out ahead, and he'd made up something like about 5 seconds over those extra laps when he'd been out, plus that in the pit stop. Brilliant tactics. Ross Brawn we can't say enough about. As Johnny Herbert said, that man is a major contributory factor to this title for Ferrari.
No tears from Michael Schumacher. Finally from you, Tony, this time, but it meant a huge amount to him, this, didn't you? You could see that.
Yeah, you could. I mean, he said, you know, you might have to wait another 10 years before you blood, but you saw him crying there in Parc Ferme. I'm sure he burst into tears into his helmet as he crossed line, because you saw him beating his fist. And that's it. Everything for him and Ferrari. This is a fabulous moment for motorsport.
Great day for them. Tony, Charlie, thank you very much indeed. We have a rerun of the Japanese Grand Prix a little bit later on, 1:55 this afternoon. More reaction in our highlights programme at 11:40, and that highlight show repeated as always ITV2 tomorrow night at 7. Couple of weeks all over in Malaysia. You can see qualifying 11:45 on the Saturday, the race live at 7:45 Sunday morning, rerun at 2:10, and highlights at 11:50. What a weekend for German sport then. Triumphs at Wembley and at Suzuka. We salute Michael Schumacher, champion of the world for a 3rd time. Bye-bye to you all.
Desire
Heinz-Harald Frentzen, difficult race there. What took you out of it?
Well, I had all of a sudden a problem with the gearbox, electronic system. I couldn't shift up and down anymore. I couldn't use the clutch. Car all of a sudden didn't respond for anything now.
It looked quite aggressive into the first corner. How did you see it?
Aggressive what?
Into the first corner, it looked pretty aggressive between all the cars.
I don't understand, sorry.
The first corner seemed quite difficult, lots of jostling.
Oh, well, it's a very quick corner, yeah. It's a very quick corner. You are braking into the apex there. And the rear end of the car is very light, so we have got a lot of work to do to control the rear end of the car.
Heinz-Harald, thank you very much indeed.
Okay, Michael, we're going on broadcast. Give us your feelings as a broadcaster. Forget words. Shit. You're great, Ross. You're great, Ross. All of you guys. No, I can't. Oh, shit. We did it. We did it. Oh, thanks. Oh. Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, we did it. Oh, shit. Give Corina a big kiss for me.
It's good to get some points and move up in the championship. I'm 8th in the championship now, only 3 points behind Jacques, so hopefully the next race we can get a good result, and you never know, we might beat him.
Everybody's been very impressed with the way you've adapted to this circuit, which is one of the most difficult, the real driver circuits, and once again you've outperformed your teammate. It
is definitely a tough circuit, and it was to learn. That was the big thing here. And also it's quite demanding. After about 18 laps I started feeling it in my arms, but I don't know why, after the first pit stop I was fine. Maybe because the car wasn't handling that well in the first stint, maybe that's why I was pushing a bit harder than I would normally. But it's great to get a 5th position and get a couple of points for myself and the team.
I know they're rivals, but the word on Ferrari winning their first World Championship for 21 years.
I think it's amazing. More than that, Michael, because he's he won in '94 and '95, and it's been so long, hasn't it? Really, and he has been the best driver in the world. I think he has, and he definitely is now, and he really deserves it. And he's done a great job this year. It's well done to him.
You can't win every World Championship. You know, we've won a few. It would have been nice to be in contention for the last race, but on the day, you know, it's not about this race, it's about all of them.
First World Championship for Ferrari for 21 years. You're one of the architects of it. Tell us what it means to you and to this team.
Well, personally, it's why I came to Ferrari, to do this. So I've achieved my dream, and so has everyone else in the team.
I feel disappointment for Mika and for the team, because obviously the reign is for him as a champion, and possibly for the constructors is over. But you know, we go to Malaysia, we try and do the best we can, and maybe it means I have the opportunity also to go for a win in the last race.
It did not go exactly like we planned, and it looked pretty good. You know, the start went fine. I was leading a race, okay, except there was some smoke coming out of the car in the start. What I was a bit concerned about that, but nevertheless I was trying to concentrate all the time for the racing itself, and went flat out. Did my first stop, everything looked fine. Did my second stop, and then when I went out after the second stop, I had a lot of traffic in front of me, and the tires didn't work really well. Lost a lot of time, and I gave the opportunity to Michael to got in front of me, because he did a couple of more laps than I did. So lost the race, but I won the championship a couple of times. So I'm not too upset about it. I think you know, the one says to be a good winner, you have to be a good loser, you know. And I think I'm happy for Michael. You know, that's what racing should be. You know, we had to be fair, and it's unfair if I start spoiling his victory now and start saying something negative and not to be happy about it. I think this is fun. You know, let's remember this is sport, and next time it's my turn to maybe win.
There we are then, very gracious Mika Häkkinen. We'll be right back, Tony and I, to pinpoint the main moments of the Japanese Grand Prix in which Michael Schumacher became world champion. And here's your complete Suzuka rundown. Michael Schumacher becomes a triple world champion. Häkkinen posting the fastest lap as he hands over his crown. Third equals Coulthard's best at Suzuka. Barrichello, well, he's having his best season ever. Button, very impressive in his penultimate drive for Williams. Villeneuve scoring a precious point for BAR. Both Jaguars, Herbert and Irvine, firmly in the top 10. Zonta, well, he gave Schumacher a real scare. Salo, the first Sauber home, followed by teammate Deniz. Then De La Rosa, Trulli 13th, that's disappointing. So is 14th for Fisichella. Mazzacani, the last official finisher. Genet's engine failed, Ralf Schumacher spun off. Heidfield's rear suspension, that went. Wirtz, another spinner, transmission failure for Frentzen. Alace's Prost blew in spectacular fashion. A faulty gearbox finished Verstappen in the orange arrows. In a couple of weeks, it is all over in Malaysia, qualifying 11:45 on the Saturday morning. Race coverage starting 7:45 on Sunday, the rerun at 2:10, and highlights just before midnight. What a weekend it has been for German sport. Triumphs at Wembley and at Suzuka. We salute Michael Schumacher, champion of the world for the third time. Good night to you all.
If you would like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by livesport365.com is www.itv-f1.com.
Sta per iniziare l'ultimo giro per Michael Schumacher, gli ultimi 5 chilometri di questo Gran Premio. Michael Schumacher sta allungando le mani sul titolo iridato. Fra l'altro, se la classifica dovesse rimanere questa, Schumacher, Häkkinen, Coulthard, Barrichello, la Ferrari porterebbe a 14 lunghezze il vantaggio sulla McLaren nel mondiale costruttori. e realisticamente si può pensare che anche il titolo mondiale costruttori possa prendere giustamente la via di Maranello. Forza Michael, giro finale, gli ultimi chilometri, sentiamo a distanza le trombe, le bandiere rosse qui in casa della Honda già sventolano, sono tantissime. Michael Schumacher sta per vincere il Gran Premio del Giappone. Ettore Giovannelli ha aperto giustamente il microfono, lo vediamo in mezzo agli uomini in rosso che sono già al muretto. Le ultime curve per Michael Schumacher che sta regalando l'attesissimo sogno, si sta per realizzare la vittoria del tedesco nel campionato del mondo di Formula 1 2000. Siamo qui alla curva del Cucchiaio, siamo a pochi chilometri dal traguardo, la festa sta per iniziare qui a Suzuka, a Maranello e in ogni angolo del mondo. Ci sono 420 club Ferrari sparsi nei 5 continenti, dove la Ferrari vanta un numero impressionante di tifosi. Le ultime curve per Michael Schumacher, inseguito vanamente da Mika Häkkinen. Il titolo mondiale non gli può sfuggire. L'ultima chicane, poi l'ultima curva prima del traguardo. Michael Schumacher ce l'ha fatta! Sì, Michael Schumacher, campione del mondo! Riporta il titolo ridato a Maranello 21 anni dopo Jody Scheckter! Campione del mondo, Michael Schumacher per la Ferrari! I colori dell'arcobaleno sulle insegne del cavallino rampante! Michael Schumacher vince davanti a Coulter, Barrichello, Button, Herbert e Irvine, campione del mondo. Michael Schumacher è campione del mondo sulla Ferrari, nemmeno lui sembra crederci. Batte le mani sul volante. Ettore Giovannelli, facci sentire.
Siamo campioni del mondo! Sì, sono i meccanici della Ferrari che non correggono più la
Campione del mondo! Campione del mondo, Michael Schumacher riporta l'iride a Maranello. Fra pochi minuti la grande festa.
È stato il coronamento di un sogno e di un impegno ostinato da parte di tutti.
Forza Ferrari! Vai!
Superstart von Ralf Schumacher. Da hilft auch kein Rüberziehen von Schumacher. Ja, da kommt er rüber. Schauen Sie mal, wie der beschleunigt jetzt. Er fährt einfach vorbei, als hätte er mehr Leistung. Das ist wieder dasselbe, was wir schon mal gesehen haben.
coraggioso, tira fuori la macchinetta. Dai, coraggio. Tagliamo i capelli alla stella Bruno, posso mangiare, Bruno? Guarda che brutto posto.
La squadra!
Sei matto, sei matto. Sei matto. Raga. Oh, non so dove è venuto fuori, però è venuto fuori.
On est 1-0.
In Malesia le vetture avranno assetti aerodinamici molto simili a quelli utilizzati a Suzuka, cioè circuito da medio-alto carico. Lo vediamo con l'aiuto dei disegni. La Ferrari ha utilizzato per quasi tutta la stagione i profili a freccia. Vediamo nel disegno a sinistra sono i profili a corda minore, cioè da circuiti veloci, a destra invece quelli utilizzati sulle piste lente tipo Budapest, Spa e Monaco. Si nota anche ai lati della paratie una aletta triangolare. Al Gran Premio del Belgio aveva debuttato la soluzione con i profili a pianta rettangolare, abbandonando quindi lo schema a freccia utilizzato per tutta la stagione. In quell'occasione però vi era una complicata paratia laterale con 2 piccole pinne che non aveva funzionato. A Suzuka invece il debutto della versione definitiva di questa lettone a pianta rettangolare con delle paratie laterali che ricordano un po' quelle originali, ma hanno la pinna leggermente diversa come forma e più svergolata.
Con questi 2 giorni di test al Mugello, mercoledì e giovedì, oltre al martedì e al venerdì guidati a Fiorano, sempre da Luca Badoer, salgono oltre 33.000 i chilometri di prove che la squadra prove della Ferrari ha disputato con la F1 2000 quest'anno, anno della conquista, finalmente, del titolo mondiale piloti. Scopriamo quindi che la squadra prove della Ferrari, la squadra test, è un vero e proprio team all'interno del team. Abbiamo cercato di scoprirne qualcosa di più anche per sottolinearne i meriti, proprio con Luigi Mazzola, 38enne ferrarese, responsabile della squadra test che segue dal 1995.
La squadra è composta da una cinquantina di persone circa e molte volte, quasi sempre, diciamo, composta anche da personaggi della squadra gara per seguire lo sviluppo della macchina direttamente per poi applicare le varie migliorie in gara. In poche parole, inizio anno è un lavoro di affidabilità e di performance della vettura, della nuova vettura, cercare di fare molti chilometri, è un lavoro pesante perché siamo i primi prototipi e quindi si lavora pesante anche la notte per cercare di condensare in poco tempo il più possibile il chilometraggio della vettura. Dopodiché c'è una fase verso inizio campionato dove si riscontrano i primi problemi della macchina, quindi si parla sempre comunque di problemi. Una volta fatti i primi Gran Premi si capisce dove dover mirare in termini sempre di affidabilità che di performance e a quel punto si fa il vero e proprio programma, si stabilisce il vero e proprio calendario da seguire a seconda delle varie tappe di Gran Premi.
Ora il mondiale è vinto, quindi i segreti possono essere abbandonati. Quali sono stati i principali problemi di questa stagione e quando?
Durante la stagione diciamo che il punto più critico, quello che mi viene in mente, è quando è cominciato ad arrivare il caldo verso quest'estate, dove abbiamo avuto problemi di consistenza vettura dovuta al degrado delle gomme ed era molto legato alla temperatura stessa delle gomme posteriori. Avevamo un problema dove la macchina era molto performante per un giro ma poi perdeva performance nell'arco di un run. Questo soprattutto confronta la nostra maggior rivale che era la McLaren. L'abbiamo individuato nelle temperature delle gomme e abbiamo lavorato veramente duro, con tante idee, con tante innovazioni, piccole, ma messe insieme hanno fatto la differenza e siamo riusciti in qualche modo a alleviare quel problema, a risolverlo, per poi ripresentarci da Monza in poi di nuovo in gran forma.
Una volta, tanti anni fa, dai test c'era qualcuno che telefonava a casa a Enzo Ferrari e gli dava i tempi della giornata. E Enzo Ferrari, a seconda di come andavano le prove, era felice oppure si arrabbiava molto con il suo interlocutore telefonico. Oggi come avviene tecnicamente invece lo scambio dei dati, la comunicazione dei dati fra voi qui ai circuiti e Maranello?
Oggi siamo a un livello un po' superiore rispetto a una volta, nel senso che siamo collegati via satellite, quindi la Ferrari in pista è come se fosse a Maranello, è esattamente la stessa cosa, i computer sono connessi in rete, telemetria è connessa in rete anche e quindi da Maranello possono comunque vedere i dati direttamente. Allora sta scendendo il telone dove proiettiamo attraverso il proiettore, ci colleghiamo via satellite in videoconference con Maranello. Alla sera, finito i test, se Ross Brown o normalmente anche se è qui, insomma con Maranello, ci colleghiamo in via satellite e facciamo la nostra riunione. Saremo qui intorno ai 12-14 persone, a Maranello ci sono circa 6-8 persone e discutiamo il programma svolto.
C'è stata quest'anno qualche telefonataccia che hai ricevuto, o da Giantodo, da Montezemolo, una telefonata in cui ti sei detto: allora Mazzola, ci svegliamo qua per andare forte questa macchina, se no perdiamo il mondiale?
Per esempio tutta la storia delle gomme, delle temperature delle gomme, dove eravamo un po' in crisi, la verità, perché non era così semplice. È stato il primo giorno, per esempio, a Monza, dove abbiamo avuto problemi grossi durante i test, e dove la situazione era molto critica. Risolta per il giorno successivo, ecco, quello me lo ricordo, è stato un grosso step, perché ci avrebbe messo in difficoltà non poco per la gara.